Chat, how have 5 minutes gone by already? How did that happen? It says for me ads start in 1 hour. I can't. I will put it in the Discord. It sure does. For my Discord bros. It's not me this time. It's not me this time. Throw that in rants. Sure. Sure. Let me take off the starting soon screen. How we doing today, chat? How we doing today? Dan Clancy hates me personally. I mean, maybe after I show everything on stream. I'm going to show you guys a lot today. Good to hear, Days. Happy it's Friday. Me too. Me too. You know what else I'm happy about? All right. Here we go. I'm going to turn the music even lower. That joke is played out. The VOD boys can miss it. It's quiet time for the music. It's quiet time for the music. But I'm going to switch up my next. Let's see. The next thing we will be listening to. That'll work. All right. I've got that queued up. So. We ready to see my new Fugi? We ready to get into the tea? Boom. Hey guys, what's up? In this stream, Seagull Reveals All. That's the joke. Oh god, I hope you're not here for another reason. Anyway, I told you, Facecam streamer, the Fugi was a temporary measure. We straight up jorking it. That's right. So, the camera I have going right now is not the camera I will have soon, hopefully next week. I almost didn't go live like this today because the camera I want to use just isn't ready. So right now we're on a good old C920. And that's why there's hot spots. Oh, wrong area. That's why there's hot spots all over my head. Nick says I lost. All right. So, last time on Dragon Ball Z, where the fuck were we? We were talking about Jannies. I got a whole doc for this because I didn't want to skip anything. Thanks. I like the beard. When it gets this long, I get the urge to just like shave it all off, and that's what waifu calls her night with a stranger. And so that's coming soon. I look like a totally different person without it. It's night and day. There will be a new seagull on the screen when that happens. But where we were last time was like the risks not only from moderators, so like insider threat. And insider, go watch part 1 if you want me to go over insider threat again. I imagine I'll go over it a lot more. But part 1, Janny's in the VOD channel, which is I should get a command for that. I'm gonna make a note of that. I need a VOD channel command. It should be in my links, but I need a VOD channel command. One thing at a time. stream, then make it good later. In time for your birthday, you want smooth face for your birthday? You can have smooth face for your birthday. I love you that much. So, I need a VOD channel shout out. But we were talking about not only the ways that which moderators are insider threats, but we were also talking loosely about how they could be risks to themselves, or rather how different moderation systems could be expected to make them behave in a different way just based on how the tools work and how the platform works, all of that stuff. So today, we're going to be talking about solutions, and not permanent solutions or guaranteed solutions. Just like it's not guaranteed that every mod is bad, it is also not guaranteed that a good system will prevent one from going bad. But we can mitigate that. Oh my goodness. My water bottle is way over here. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Since some people who allegedly watch my channel have issues with nuance, I thought I'd put that out there. So, let's get into myself. I told you we'd be revealing everything today, and one of those is my moderation history, because what I want to talk about is like some systems that can prevent some of this. I've also been focused on Discord a bit heavily, and that's because Discord is like the most common place to see these problems crop up in like the VTubing sphere and in like other content creation. Like anybody who offers a Discord as like part of their YouTube channel or as part of their blue site or as part of their Twitch channel, they're going to run into these things. I don't know about you guys, but in places where I just don't get involved into like deeper community platforms such as Discord, I never have moderation problems. Moderation problems of a live stream. What is this, Final Fantasy? Moderation in a Twitch channel itself is usually fine. Generally, you get sniped if you don't read the rules and you shoot from the hip. Like I get timed out in Olivia's every so often because I forget that she's 13 plus and not 18 plus, and then I make a comment. Pow. But as far as I know, I'm not on any secret strike system there, so it's all good. It's like, and I'll get the timeout, and I'm like, oh yeah, I earned that one, huh? I think some people think that. I think people get tunnel vision, and when they moderate somebody, they assume that that person is never anywhere else, never doing anything else. They never interact with anybody else. Kind of like people who insist that they're the most lenient servers, those people will be like, well, obviously you're not in other servers, so I can just claim I'm the most lenient server, and like your life experience doesn't matter at all. And then there's how many people in this chat have ever been Discord moderators or Reddit moderators or moderators for like a persistent presence platform? So basically that can be any sort of forum or anything like that. Because one of the things, Dev, you literally look like one of my coworkers with longer hair, beard included. I mentioned this last stream. That I was talking about how some guy in an article really looked like classic IT, and then I was quick to go, and so do I. I have no stones to throw there, and there you go. Lirio says server owner for a brief time. Okay, so very few of you have ever been mods in like that sort of context, and that's fine. But one of the things I think is really weird is that anytime I talk to moderators, they talk like no one's ever moderated a Discord before except for their team. And that's not like a one server thing. That is every server I go into. Every server I go into, the moderation team is like, hey, none of y'all know shit. Only we, the moderators of this specific server, know shit, or how moderation works, or how it's done elsewhere. And it's just like, damn, if I walked into a job like that, holy fuck, dude. And no one has taken the gamble to allow me to moderate anything besides my own servers. Hey, that counts. I don't even know why that would be a gamble anyway. You seem to be pretty behaved to me. Also, welcome in, Annie. Nice to see you. I hope your internet's doing a lot better. Vroom. I've always wanted to say vroom on stream. For vroomies. That's a kludgy moment. Anyway, where was I? So, first we're going to talk a little about me and the dumbass mistakes I've made, and also the experience that I have. We're going to talk about that. And then we're going to talk about... I'm going to start org charting, because there are ways to tackle these problems. They're not guaranteed, as I have said like 3 times already, but you can tackle these problems in ways that have to do with incentive. And incentive is going to be something we talk about a lot today, because it is very important. And my driver for my tablet, I thought it was a driver problem. What it actually is I did not plug it the fuck in. Professional IT for 25 years, by the way. Just throwing that out there. Badink. Alright, we good? We good. Alright, I can draw stuff. Sweet. Get that brush size a bit bigger. So, I actually started moderating... Ooh, that's supposed to be smooth? I actually started moderating at 17. I think this is the logo. This is roughly the logo. And when you guys hear 17, that's probably an Awareji moment. It should be an Awareji moment. Anybody know what this is? In a very specific context? Because there's like 2 answers I could see from my poor drawing. But I want to see if anybody can guess what that is in context of moderating. Oh, no. I'm going to change it just a little to be a little more accurate, because that specific representation is a little off in very important ways. Oh, tablet went crazy there. Tablet's going crazy. Mom! Usually when this happens, I have to switch brushes. Mom, the tablet's going nuts. There. And also, we gotta flip these around. I completely botched this. I did it from memory. I'm glad I'm forgetting, to be honest. I'm glad I'm forgetting. Alright, these go... Oof. These go down here. And then put some little horns here. And some bigger horns here. So yeah, I didn't have that right at all. You may now guess again. Oh, waifu got it way back. Waifu got it way back. I had that blocked off because, why did I have that blocked off? Oh, yeah, there we go. Now I shouldn't have it blocked off. Yeah, Neverwinter Nights is when I started moderating. And I was doing that for... Gosh. We weren't married yet, but I knew waifu. So from 17 to, like... 23? Somewhere around there? An extremely malformed crest of the Sheikah. Yeah, what I drew was the crest of the Sheikah, and then I realized that doesn't look right, and that's when I went and I looked up the other, I won't lie, RM looks nothing like I imagined. I expected him to be way scrawnier, like high school IT type guy. Yeah. See, I I say like classic IT guys, but you've got to be like, which era of IT? I look like a much older era of IT. Bye, y'all. My kids are being very respectful. They're going to their grandparents right now, and they're trying to be very quiet walking out the door, but they're like waving to me through the window, and I'm just like, whatever, guys. Bye. See y'all soon. Anyway. I was still doing it after we were married? Oh my god, so that's like 8 years. That's like 8 years. Anyway, I look like IT in their 40s. Dev says the young ones stay scrawny because they get forced to move server racks all day. I think it's because they can't afford to eat. Like, on my IT salary, before the dark times, I could still eat. And I don't think these kids can. And when I was young, the job I had before IT was very backbreaking. So, like, I had a really high metabolism and I ate like that. And then I got a desk job and then I kept eating like that. Tier 1 help desk pay ain't it for sure? Absolutely not. No. I'd say even tier 2 is basically not livable. Not family livable anyway. When I say livable, I'm thinking about the fact I got a wife, I got 3 kids. You know, so I'm going to put that back on here because one of the reasons I'm sketching today is to slow me down a little bit so that when I talk about something, I am able to answer questions and interact with comments without getting too focused on the content. So, God, y'all are going to see me adjust all the time now. I do that all the time because of my back. You'll see me, like, leaning. That's because of the slip disc. Well, not slip, bulging. Different. Big bulge. But that's why I'm constantly shifting in my seat, trying to find my posture again. This can go off now. Yeah, that's the only bulge you'll see from me on stream, is the one that makes me lean. What is Neverwinter Nights about? That's, first of all, welcome in, Yume. Good to see you. Saru, you too. Getting groceries in the commissary, speak up. I mean, aren't I already pinging red over here? Let me, yeah, I'm already pinging, like, I'm already at -5, dude. If I speak up, I'm going to start clipping. But yeah, Neverwinter Nights is a Dungeons and Dragons thing. It's actually still, I believe, Baldur's Gate 3 has some sections that kind of butt up against Neverwinter, like, as a location. Neverwinter is a location in Faerun. So that, hey, Dimmu, what's up? Hey, Flash! Oh, yeah. 3D! Oh, no. Oh, no. But, yeah, it's good to see you all in here. So, Neverwinter Nights is about the knights in Neverwinter, which is a location in Faerun, which is a Dungeons and Dragons setting that used to be very, very popular. North of Waterdeep City is Neverwinter. Yes, absolutely. In fact, in Neverwinter, I think you go to Waterdeep in the second expansion, Lords of the Underdark. I believe you go to Waterdeep. So, yeah, Waterdeep is technically in that game. Why do I remember that? Okay, so 17 years old. I go to this persistent world. I'll take a night with RM. Hey. I go to this persistent world, and I quickly start getting into the moderation position, and this is our first lesson. The reason I was a moderator was because there was no separation of duties. If you were somebody who contributed to the persistent world with assets, guilty, I did that. With scripts, did that too. If you DM'd for the server, also guilty. If you did any of those things, you were also a moderator on the forums. So, yeah, 17-year-old RM moderating a group of adults. They never asked my age. They never asked my age. I said duty. They never asked my age. Not one time. That sounds like a positively Oh, it was. And we're going to get into why. Also, this server had a pretty good amount of ERP, which you would think I'd be new to at 17, but early internet. Let's see, I think it was 15 the first time I encountered ERP in a Lycos chat room. So I was pretty well versed at that point. Old internet was wild, y'all. I was actually pretty well versed in that point. And it didn't bother me none. Like, I was already over it. I just didn't even want to participate in it. Like, 17 years old and already tired of ERP gooning. Like, already done with it. Imagine. So, I think one of the reasons they never asked me my age, because they asked other people, was because I had lost my innocence a long time ago. I was still a kid. Like, a lot of y'all have been in the military. You know, like, a 19-year-old in the sandbox has lost their internet, but they're still a kid. You know what I mean? Y'all know what I mean by that? Like, it's a hard thing to tell people who have never experienced it. It's a very tough thing to convey. But I had already lost my innocence at that point. And it wasn't because of the ERP or anything. That was because, joined the Air Force at 17. Hey, you did what my dad did, except, Dad was a jarhead. But yeah, he did the 17-year-old thing too. Nuts. Now I want to take my shoes off. Damn. Maybe at the first break. The point is, when I was 10 years old, I was really, really excited for my birthday, which was like in a few weeks. And my mom's like, yeah, we're going to go bowling. It's going to be great. I'd never had a big birthday before. This was going to be the big birthday. We were like really destitute. And I had never had a big birthday. The best, actually, I'm not going to say that part because mom did what she could. But yeah, we were going to go bowling. It would be my first real birthday party. I was really, really jazzed. And then 3 days later, she had a brain aneurysm and had to go to the hospital. And they gave her a 3% chance of living and a 50% chance that if she lived, she would not have any use of the entire left side of her body. And things were not looking good. So the next week, like 3 days before my birthday, my dad puts me in the truck and starts driving me to the hospital. And the ride was pretty silent. And without me prompting him, my dad goes, hey, so you're probably wondering why I brought you and not the rest of your siblings, which I have 3 siblings. Hey, Kaviri, thanks for raiding. Boy, you got into the middle of a story. Welcome in, Raiders. Let me finish the despair. Actually, before that, I'm RM. Occasionally, I'll go around masquerading as a seagull when I'm interacting with VTubers, but I discuss security content or security topics, cybersecurity topics in the context of streaming. Also, physical security. It's not just cyber, actually. But that's what I do, and I try to be entertaining about it. And I'm telling chat about the exact moment when I stopped being a child. So I'm like 9 years old, turning 10 in 3 days. I'm in my dad's truck, and he's like, he's lying. He's a seagull. The face cam is AI. Yeah. So I'm in my dad's truck, and we're driving for like 15 minutes. The hospital is like 5 more minutes away, and he turns to me and he goes, you're probably wondering why I brought only you and not the rest of your siblings. And then he goes, and I'm like, yeah, actually, I am wondering. And he goes, or however a 9-year-old would phrase it. I don't remember what I said exactly, and I can't really remember being 9. I remember this. I basically was like, yeah, okay. So he goes, it's because you're the one who is old enough to remember your mother, and we are saying goodbye. So I go to the hospital with him, and mom is like tubed up like a Borg out of like Star Trek. and I'll never forget it. Like, I see the blood running out of, like, one part of her head and, like, back into the other. And, like, she's, like, half bald and stuff because, you know, you gotta put the tubes in. And, I said goodbye, and we left, and on the truck ride back, I'm like, I won't get to go to school, I will not get to finish high school, but I will stay home and help my other 3 siblings do that. And I made that decision in my head at that time. And 3 days later, she lived. After I had already made peace with it. So, in a lot of ways, that was like mentally adjusting to the situation. That was worse than her dying. Because, like, what the fuck do I do with that? Now, I'm glad she didn't. Let's not mix that up. But, like, 9-year-old... Anyway, I did not celebrate my birthday again, earnestly, until I had my son. Because he was born a day later. Yeah, existential whiplash. There was a period when I was like 14, 15, where I basically told her to her face that she actually had died in the hospital and the person who came out was a different person. And I will always regret it. We made up later. Water time. We made up later. It's still tough to talk about if you can't tell. But get through it. So that is when I stopped being that's when I grew up, essentially. But I was still a kid. Anyway, we're 17-year-olds. We're ERP veterans. We're in Neverwinter Nights. Whiplash. So no one asks if I'm a kid, because I don't talk like one at this point. And, we get into some trouble. So I told you about, like, the roles being mixed up, and I was active, like, on the forums. Didn't really have to moderate people that often, because, like, everybody there was adults except me. Yume's like, yeah, ERP doesn't stand nearly as close as what you've been through at 9. Yeah, I've been through some shit. Like, that's not even my worst story. It's also, you'll remember... Actually, that's a story for another time. I don't want to... White Fox moment. You know what? You're not wrong. That is kind of a White Fox moment. No, that's when I promised to take care of my siblings and all that. Yume says, fuck you mean not the worst. Hell. It's up there, it's tied, but, you know. I've had an interesting life, apparently. So, these cliques start to form. And, like, even me as a 17-year-old, I can see the cliques forming. That's kind of ageless, isn't it? Like, we could see that in middle school. We could see that in high school. It's easy to spot, it's easy to spot these cliques when they're forming. I think people get, like, this weird idea that's only something adults can do, but it's like, that's something 4-year-olds do. Cliques is, like, on the level of awareness, like, cliques is, like, way down here. You know? That's actually very early developmental stuff. And you were part of a clique you never understood how you got into. You know what? Yeah. I also... Yeah. Like you guys. How the fuck did I get here? Good ride. Glad I did. How the fuck did we get here? So, here's where things get interesting. So, all right, you got me. You've got the server owner. Can anybody guess what the demographic of the server owner of like a mildly ERP roleplay Neverwinter Nights persistent world would be. Any guesses? 30s? Let's have some more demographic details. 20-year-old? One of life's many mysteries. Yeah, Neverwinter Nights, not the MMO. The game that released in, it was 2002? 35 early onset balding? Close. Why does it still have you listed as Raider, Kaviri? You've got a founder's badge. Appreciate that, by the way. But, like, why does it still give you the Raider tag? I love this website. Anyway. $45 plus. Woman. Georgia. How did you raid with a viewer count of 1? What do you do? This is where shit gets fucked up, guys. So, like, we see these cliques forming. We see these cliques, or I see these cliques forming at 17. And I don't really care about them yet. I'm actually playing with her son a lot. Her son is also on the server that has the ERP that she participates in. I did not know how fucked up this was when I was 17. But her son's in the server, early 20s. I don't think, like, I think she told people to, like, not include him in that stuff. I'm not sure how much he knew. But she was very dissatisfied with her husband, and, oh, Kaviri's just trying to figure out the Steam Deck. Okay, or the Stream Deck. Okay, sure. Where was I? So, yeah, so she's got her son, early 20s. So he's older than me. Just, you know, so we're clear. He's older than me at the time. And she's ERPing on this server that he's in. And, you know, things go on for a few years. And how do I explain this? The part that's relevant to moderating is that at one point, I was doing a complete overhaul of the spell system because Vancian casting sucks. Everybody who played a caster, they would just spam their level 9 spells until they were out. They would take a quick rest and then spam some more level 9s. Some level 8s with some exceptions. Clerics used a lot more of their spell slots because they had a lot more useful buffs in slots that weren't 8 and 9. Isaac's Greater Missile Storm was spammed everywhere, but usually it was the maximized version, so that's also level 9 spell slots, even though it's like a level 6 spell. Nerd shit. So I'm revamping the entire system so that lower level arcane spells are actually useful. And I'm actually not a caster at this point. My main character on that server was a rogue that like snuck around and set traps for people and instantly killed them with a reflex save, basically. And I was also impossible to see. I wasn't impossible to see, but the problem is, I was playing a game with everybody else that they could either invest the points into seeing me, or they could be combat effective against literally everybody else, and they could not have it both ways. Throwing numbers out won't do y'all any good because, like, almost none of you played the game. But my hide and, oh, man. Yeah, my hiding skill was 127. Which was the highest it could go. Like, it was just basically capped at that point because of, unsigned integer stuff. The Techies troll player started early. I sure did. Actually, my Techies arc runs kind of parallel with this, so that's probably not shocking. I figured out a way to overlap because traps would not let you stack traps directly on top of each other, specifically so that you couldn't cause a one-shot death, but you could buffer the inputs so that you could do that. So if you buffered, like, setting 8 traps and no one interrupted you, you could stack 8 traps on the same exact location, but you couldn't do that if you set a trap and it went through and then tried to set another one right on top of it. So I would buffer like 8 or 9 of the highest level electric traps, which did the most damage, in a place that people would walk through on their way to do stuff, and then they would just fall over dead. And it was great. And you couldn't see me, and I could always see you, because not only did I get 127 hide, but I also got 127 spot and listen. Basically, anyone who could see me, I was dead against. For some reason, no other player on that entire server would make that prisoner's bargain. So I was just basically invincible, because no one wanted to get 127 in one skill, because I had it in 3, because it took up slots on their gear that would make them ineffective against other people in combat. So I was just basically invincible. So I'm revamping the spell system, right? And one of them I revamp specifically to counter people like me, and I overtuned it. So there's this guy who joined the server 6 months prior, and he's an obvious entryist. I find out later how he climbed the ladder so fast, but he's an obvious entryist. He has just that behavior, even at 17 to 20. This is very clear to me. He's come in, he's making all these grand overtures, and he's very friendly to a Saccharin level, and he's definitely interested in moderating, and he hasn't quite got there yet. An entryist is somebody who doesn't really care about the hobby they're in or the process they're entering. What they care about is being in charge of it. That's how I defined an entryist. We had it in my political arc too, but we're getting there. We're after NWN comes politics, and those overlap a little, actually. But obvious entryist, he wants to be in charge of the server, but he doesn't want to stand up his own server or do that work, so he's just going to, like, wiggle his way in like an intestinal worm to somebody else's server and then take that over. Put a pin in that, because we'll get to that later. And I have detected this, and I do not like him. But one day, when I'm 1v20ing the server, 1v20ing, getting away with it, he casts the spell I buffed, and I accidentally walk into it. It's an area of effect on the ground. But I was trying to pixel perfect it a little too hard. I brush up against it. It deals me like 250 damage, and I fall over dead immediately. Because, like, the level cap on that server is 25, and I'm an elf, and I have maxed out my skills in hiding and seeing things and hearing things. And so, yeah, I just fall over dead. That spell was made to counter me, but it was ineffective because of the way that you saved against it. So I changed it so not only would it be effective, but it would also do a fuck ton of damage. And I fall over dead. And the guy messages me, and he's like, I told you you overtuned that spell. And he did. He did tell me that earlier in the forums. And I'm like, I know. But the next thing I said was, but I can't nerf it now, because that would be self-serving. So we're going to get into the first principle. We're going to get into the first principle of moderating. Well, one of them is that the appearance of impropriety, this is probably going to be something I fail spelling. Propriety is at least as bad as impropriety itself when you are in a position of authority. That was the lesson I already knew this. What I should have done was gone, hey, could you get on the forums and, like, support me nerfing this a little bit? Not a lot. I still want it to do its job. I still want it to counter fuckheads like me, but I don't want it to one-shot, because like, it's a mez spell. It's supposed to hold you still, and it'll take you out of stealth when it does that. And, like, yeah, I want it to do damage too, but the way you resist that damage is by having a high strength score. Anyway, point is, there was not a lot I could nerf it before it was just useless against everybody that wasn't me. That was the balance problem here. So what I should have done was, like, asked for that support in the forums. But instead what I said was, like, you know, enjoy that overpowered spell, because nerfing it now would look really bad for me. Because not only am I the head of the balance team at that point, I'm basically the only person on it. So the way that would be perceived is, oh, this asshole who runs circles around us most days dies one time, so he nerfs the spell that killed him. I see how it is. That's how everybody else would see that. That's how everybody else would see that. And even at this age, I understand this. So, this would actually serve me very well later. The appearance of impropriety is as bad as impropriety. Some people might disagree. My experience tells me that it is. Here's the tea with this guy. Apparently, the reason he was able to get so popular so fast is because he was ERPing with the server owner, along with, like, 3 or 4 other people who just basically did fuck all but retained their positions. And do you know how I found out about this? Of course you don't, but I'm going to tease it. You know how I found out about this? This is part of your insider threat training, folks. One of our DMs... I'm taking off my shoes right now. I'm not waiting for the break. One of our DMs... I say our, even though I burned that server down. One of our DM... Adds in 18 minutes. Okay. One of our DMs... Dungeon Masters, sorry. Not direct messages. One of our Dungeon Masters... Probably our most competent. He was in charge of all monster design and balancing. So I was spells, but he was monsters. He had a very strong sense of fairness. And me and 2 other people on that server wanted to, like, take over this area that was, like, a low-level dungeon/leveling area for the server, but we wanted to have, like, a hideout there. Not even really a hideout, but, like, a home base. And, you know, other people on the server had gotten a home base, but, like, nobody had ever, like, converted a mob area before. And we wanted to do that, so we proposed that to the other GMs. And they said yes. And they said yes when they didn't mean yes, and that's bad. Said yes. Didn't mean it. But the person who didn't mean it was this person. And she did not tell anybody else that she didn't mean it. What she instead did was told 3 GMs to make a bunch of monsters and just escalate to the point where we would fail. And she was betting her entire thing on that. Just make the monsters really strong, throw them at them, and they will fail. And then we won't have to worry about it. The problem was we had been coordinating this for 3 months, and we had basically infiltrated some characters into the server. Okay, I say infiltrated. It was a role-playing server. So all of your characters kind of, like, needed a reason to exist. They needed a lore reason to exist. They had to have personalities. They had to interact with people. So, for months, we came up with some builds that would complement each other in unfair ways. And then we made up reasons for those characters to exist. And then we had them socialize with each other, make plans in front of people, make declarations. We're building the roleplay cred. What we're actually trying to do is infiltrate these min-maxed characters that cover each other's weaknesses into this gambit. Holy fucking autism. Well, I mean, we were kids, we had free time. Because these other two people were... One I don't know. One was an Aussie that I didn't know and I just got along with him. The other was, and remains my friend to this day. We have known each other for 32 years. Anyway. Where was I? So, all of these characters know each other at this point. And that's when we hit the moderation team / dungeon masters with the, hey, we want to take over this area. So, 45-year-old horny Georgia woman says, yeah, sure, go for it. She doesn't mean that. Behind the scenes, she's telling her 3 best dungeon masters to make sure we fail and to throw the kitchen sink at us monster-wise, even if it doesn't make sense that those monsters would be where we are trying to take over. Remember, this is a low level, I would say like level 7 targeted leveling ground. We're all level 25. The monsters that would be thrown at us, some of them ended up being challenge rating 101. And we win. And they keep throwing those at us, and we win, and we keep winning, and this goes on for a half hour before this GM gives up and says that we have won. So Georgia woman has bet on this, and then she doesn't pay the ante. What she should have done instead was just told us no and to come up with an alternate plan. Instead, she bet the entire farm on, they're just gonna lose, I've got my guys, and they're gonna make sure these guys lose, not counting on the autism. So, if any of you have autism, rest assured that you can find other people with autism, form a group, and do impossible things. The power of autism is unrivaled. So, the never bet against autism. Never. You would think 4chan would have taught people not to do that several times over the last decade or two. But she just says no. And we make kind of a fuss about it, but not too big of a fuss about it, because everyone who was watching that is terrified of us now. Because some people watched us do it. And they're terrified of us now. So, in the end, we get a little bit of what we want, even though we didn't get our physical fortress. And that's fine. But the guy in her Dungeon Master team / moderation team that had the strong sense of fairness and threw the strongest monsters at us was not happy with her, and their relationship never got better. He was sore about that, because he was also very sure we would lose, and after 30 minutes of throwing the most unfair crap, some of which he designed for this encounter and put in the game specifically to throw at us for this encounter, those were the CR 101s, didn't stop us. So he's like, well, they earned it. And their relationship never gets better. So, this is the ICQ trillion era. I think MSN Messenger is just becoming a thing. And is Skype a thing yet? I'm not sure. I really don't know. 2002, 2003, you tell me. I don't remember. He throws me a document. He throws me the proverbial Google Docie about all of the ERPing he has been recording the server owner doing with all of these people that he knows I don't like. And you know what I did? I sat on it. I put it in a lockbox. I threw it away. And I never used it. Actually, I think it's still in the lockbox. I think I still have this file. Somewhere. I still have it. But I never used it. Not once. I did start targeting the people in it with other things, because now that I knew to watch them, I could catch them doing their own sideways bullshit. And then I did, and I got them on that. And it ended up tearing the server apart. That was bad of me to do. That server died because of me, and I used her son against her in that. That was not good. He took my side. I didn't initially go after her son. He took my side, and I'm like, I'm using this. It was a bad thing for me to do. I was 18, 19 years old. Okay? It was a bad thing to do. It caused a lot of emotional damage. I learned lessons from this. Okay. The lesson is, don't run an ERP server if you're a horny, middle-aged, lonely woman. That's the lesson. No, the lesson is, don't be evil. The lesson is, don't play with people's emotions like that. Even if you feel justified in doing it. Let's see. We're going to get to justified things later. One of the things that really got people to like me back then was that I put in a lot of work. And that's another lesson. I told you I was doing the scripting, the asset creation, the dungeon mastering. I was doing a lot of that. I had a lot of free time, you know, high school, sometimes between jobs, work at a grocery store. Yume says, why is it women playing with emotion that is the root of many problems? That's a great question, man. Let me check the ads. We've got 8 minutes to ads. So, you know, I've got a little more time. So, I did a bunch of work. And I never really held that over anybody's head. And I believe his name is Lao Tzu. Probably butchering the enunciation there. But there's a quote from him, you know, ancient Chinese philosopher. I get it. But it says, go to the people, live with them, learn from them, love them, start with what they know, build with what they have. But with the best leaders, when the work is done, the task accomplished, the people will say, we have done this ourselves. Now, yeah, the only reason I know that quote is because of bullshit management training. But I like the quote. And I did, you know, not knowing the quote does not mean you can't use these principles. I certainly was. I was making the community feel like they were in charge. I was building things for them. I was building things for them to use. Running stories that helped them and not some narrative I wanted. And by the end of all that, they were really, really happy with me because, not because I did things for them, but because they got to do the things they wanted to do, build the stuff they wanted to build. So I let them have their stories, essentially. So when push came to shove, and it was literally me calling out the person who owned the server, the person who, when they stop paying the hosting bill, it goes away. It was like an 80-20 with me. Don't forget that lesson. So, during this arc, towards the latter half of it, I got involved in state-level politics. Because of course I did. I'm well started my career in IT at this point, but I figure, I could use another extracurricular activity because why not? So I got involved in state level politics. I won't tell you what those politics were because that's not important. I will tell you that it took me all of 6 months to get on the rules committee of the statewide executive committee, the platform committee, and the executive committee. So I was a voting member on all three of those. And that's a real people problem. It's high stakes. Everybody in there wants a piece. Everybody who's like actually basically a moderator. Yes, that's the lesson here. You're getting to the punchline first. Incoming ad break starts in 5 minutes. Yeah, that's fine. But yeah, you've got to the punchline already. No. It's great that you worked that out, because one of the things I'm accused of is like creating self-serving narratives. So the fact that you just, came to that conclusion before I was finishing, yeah. Dev says, make life simpler for everyone, just make me malevolent dictator instead. That's funny. So, in order to get to these positions in the first place, I had to demonstrate command over things like Robert's Rules for Order newly revised. And the reason that's important is because it's the common set of agreed standards, and I will make this as painfully clear as I can. The reason Robert's Rules works is because the people who participate in the process, from the person in charge to the newbie, agrees to those rules. I will say that again. It's because everyone involved, top to bottom, agrees to those rules. That's why they work. And it's just basic parliamentary order. It's got a long history, but that's why it works, is because everybody in the org agrees to do things that way. So, do I still have my copy? Yeah, here it is. This is probably old now. It's 11th edition. Robert's Rules of Order, newly revised. Still got it. I've forgotten half of it. I've forgotten like half of this book, and it makes me so happy. I don't remember half this shit. Oh god. Yay. I'm forgetting Robert's Rules, and it makes me giddy. But like, this is real people involved. Every year you have an annual meeting. Where everybody who wants to show up, who's in the party, can show up and vote for things and change the direction. They can change the rules. They can change what your goals are if enough of them feel that way. They elect officers. So I was up for election a few times. I won too. Before I left the party, the ex-chair tapped me for chair, and he was going to back me, and I said, nope. I've got a family now. I'm going to spend time with them. 2 years later, that guy calls me up, and he goes, you know what, RM? You were right. And I didn't know it at the time, but that's because he was terminal with cancer, and he died later that year. But I was tapped for chair in a very serious manner for a statewide party. We've thrown up a lot of despairs in this channel today. A break's coming up. I promise it will get happier. Sorry, says I missed the last 45 minutes. Can you repeat all that? There's always VODs. We can, that's what VODs are for. But yeah, it was in person, real people. And if enough of them get together, they can demand and get awful things. Let's see. So that means at some point, pre-roll ads are on. What I'm going to do, it's even though it's on an automatic timer, it's telling me that pre-roll is on. So I'm going to go ahead and start the ad break, and then we're going to come back, and then we're going to continue. So let me just throw those ads on. Run them. Run the ads now. Run the ads now! Fire everything! And then I'm going to put the BRB screen up. I'm going to give y'all some RuneScape. And yeah, I'm going to turn myself off. You know, Pause really does watch out for me. I'm not gonna let nobody tell me different ever again. Ever again! It's a good thing I wear pants. Good thing I wear pants. I'm no longer making piss. So, where were we? So that summons waifu, of course. Somebody's got a nice cozy fire going outside. I can smell it through the windows, which are open right now because the weather is lovely for the first time since early May. It has just been balls hot since early May, and it is just finally letting up. You know what our high today was? Our high today was 82, and it felt so good. Fahrenheit, not 82 Celsius, for those of you living in less advanced parts of the world. Man, when I'm in a Discord channel, I go out of my way to post both temperatures and sometimes just Celsius. Yeah, 27. Thank you. Yeah, 82 is cozy. But we have been at like 90 plus for months. Dev knows what I'm talking about. Yeah. This is actually our second time at 82, but it was like for literally one day, like 4 weeks ago. But it looks like we'll get like a week of this, and then False Fall will go away again. Anyway, let's not waste time before I have to ad break again. Let's see. So we got some stakes here because in a political party, you have your like your constitution, right? You've got like 3 levels of government. Constitution. You've got like 3 levels of governing documents that at least my state requires. You've got like the bylaws. That should actually like be down here. What was the third one? I'm so happy I'm forgetting this. I am so happy I'm forgetting this. Anyway, you've got multiple documents that you have to live by. There's also your platform. You don't really have to have that one. But your constitution and bylaws are big. There are things in here that you must have by state law. But if you meet in the annual meeting, and there's a big enough groups of idiots, they can change this into a state that is incompatible with state law. And then your entire organization is in big trouble. So as a member of the executive committee, the rules committee, and the platform committee, I had to find a way to keep that from happening and to make people happy about it. And I did this for 4 or 5 years. And I got some clout. You don't just get tapped for chair without getting some clout. I mediated a conflict, a legal conflict, at one point, because a member of the party was legally due consideration for certain levels of support in a political campaign. And because the chair at the time did not like this person and thought their messaging was bad for the party, they denied them that support in a level that never went to court, but I am pretty sure was not legal to do. It nearly got to a lawsuit. One of the oh yeah, that was a key part of the story of the last thing. Can anyone guess the job of the guy who gave me the document full of dirt? Can anybody guess that person's profession? Can anybody guess? Chicken farmer? Good guess. Minotaur milker? Why are we going... Alright, this chat is not a chat I can ask why we are going there. Waifu, you're cheating. You know the answer. Lawyer. It was a lawyer. He was her right hand. Her right hand. Her most trusted moderator. And he gave a 19... Nope, not the infamous lawyer. There's a different infamous lawyer. Anyway, 19-year-old... God, he must have been in his 30s. He dropped a dirt document full of literal ERP-like e-sex onto this, 19-year-old. Because he thought I would do bad things with it. Yeah, this entire stream is about insider threats from moderation. So that's one. That dude's a lawyer. He did not give a fuck. Yeah, they weren't his clients before the Google Docky. Exactly. Anyway, back to this. Eventually I was in a position where, like, people were starting to kiss the ring, man. And, y'all know how much I brag about me. It's not frequent. It came to a point where it's like, okay, we need to change the rules, but one of the people that you must have buy-in from, if you want the rules changed, is that RM guy over there. Because if you don't have buy-in from him, it's not passing. And one guy from Miami thought he was above that, and then his entire agenda failed. And then the next year, he consulted with me, and we met halfway, and almost his entire agenda passed. So yeah, kiss the ring, motherfucker. I had a very, very, very good record of success at annual business meetings. And again, it's because I did work. I developed new ways of ingesting voter data. I invented new ways of utilizing that voter data. I taught people why not to target college students and why that was an exercise in futility. Now, that was something that was already understood in other parties. I had to convince this party of it because they were really after the youth vote. And I'm like, you cannot canvass these people because they don't tell the government where they are. Does anybody remember filling out change of address paperwork when they were 20? Saru says, I'm writing page 674 on RM's Google Docky right now. The youth vote, all 5 of them? They don't vote. They don't live in the same place for any more than 3 to 6 months at a time, and then they wonder why they don't get canvassed or paid attention to. If you don't know what canvassing is, that's where you go. That's when the door-to-door knockers are coming. That's canvassing. That's when people knock on your door, wake your baby up, make you very angry, and then ask you to vote for their candidate. I'm not sure how much canvassing is still done. I'm sure there are sections of the country where that's still a popular tactic. I'm not sure money is thrown at that so much anymore. And apartments are just awful to canvass. Just awful. Anyway, I did the work. I taught people how to... Yeah, people want to be canvassed. It makes them feel like... Even if you canvass somebody and they're annoyed that you interrupted their day, what it tells them is that they're worth annoying. Okay? When you see on, like, television or something, or, like, yeah, we surveyed, 6,000 people on their political positions, and this is what they tell us, the reaction to that is generally always, I wasn't asked. Where'd you get this poll from? Nobody ever asks me. So, yeah, even though it's annoying and people hate it, they hate it more when you don't do it. Saru says, some of my old tactical gear was made of canvas. It smelled funny. Good one. But people are petty. People are very petty. But yeah, I did this for like 4 or 5 years. There's no real, like, story there. Like, I guess I could get into salacious shit, but why would I do that? It actually ran pretty smoothly. But that is where I really practiced the wheeling and dealing that I learned in Neverwinter Nights. Because it was kind of the same. And that was the punchline that Game Days got to earlier. That's when I learned how similar these things were. So that's the next step in the story. That's when I learned how these systems were similar across domains. So they're similar in work, they're similar in politics, they're similar with running a goddamn Neverwinter Nights persistent world. Same principles, different settings and people. Yes, exactly. So I'm building this up. But yeah, There were people that kissed the ring, and I'm not gonna make it like I'm not gonna make it out like I was like hot shit, but what I was necessary to talk to, and I don't view those as the same thing. Other people might, but it was necessary to get my agreement on large changes to the Constitution and bylaws and even the platform. And when people had to pull in parliamentarians to settle rules disputes, guess who the winner was? Guess who won those? Me. Never lost. Not once. When they had to bring in an outside professional parliamentarian third party to settle rules squabbles, I was the winner. Every time. It only happened like 3 times, but every time. Anyway. That is where I learned that all the Crunchy Mom weirdos are from Tampa, and that something is in the water in Tampa, and anyone living in that area should really be filtering what they drink to the maximum level that they are able. Something weird down there in Tampa. The Bradenton area. Dev, oh, we do. There's something strange in that neighborhood, and I don't think the Ghostbusters can fix it. Oh, nope, I don't want that brush big. I want the eraser big. So yeah, the guy who dropped me the docky was a lawyer. And the guy that I mediated was also a lawyer. But he came to me. The lawyer came to me to mediate the dispute between him and the chair. Because between the two of them, I was the only guy they trusted in the entire org to treat them fairly. To treat both of them fairly. And we got a non-legal settlement. We did not have to go to court. Both parties were happy. I did it good. I was basically like, okay, you denied him this thing, probably illegally. You already got what you wanted. So now you're going to make the organization make a very public apology to him for doing that. And that's all it took. Now, the conversations were longer than that, and the details more thorny, but that's essentially what happened. But the whole point was, neither of them were going to trust a different moderator than me. Mediator, not moderator. This was a mediation. Thanks, sweetie. I forgot that they could see you do that. Okay. I'm going to have to get used to that. So, my first Discord moderation experience. I forgot to write down EVE Online. We can skip my EVE Online area, but boy howdy, was that very similar to the political area. Jesus Christ. Just take that, double it, that was the EVE Online part. Pokemon Go server. This one has one of those very teachable... This was my first Discord moderation experience. And you might think I'm about to talk about how the moderators in this instance were, like, evil and bad, and... No. This is a different story about a different vulnerability with a server owner. We have had 2 server owners as the subject of our stories now. I wonder if that's a theme for a reason. I wonder if there's a reason for that. So, is there anyone here not familiar with how Pokemon Go works at, like, a very high level? There's, like, 3 teams, and you go catch Pokemon, and you take over gyms. At least that's how it worked back in 2016, 2017. We're all familiar? Ew, flesh! Why is everybody saying that? Hello, Inak. Welcome in. Dimmu doesn't. Alright, so basically it's an augmented reality game. You turn your phone on, you walk around, it shows you a map of the area you're in via GPS. Pokemon will appear, you catch them, you train them, you do battle with them, sort of, kind of, in gyms. And there are 3 teams that compete for ownership of those gyms for rewards. That is how it worked in 2017, 2016, 2016, I think. It is very different now. Now the game basically has no team play at all. It's all about taking raids down and having raid rewards. But at the time, when the story takes place, that's how the game worked. So me and one of the other mods were from Team Yellow. And the server owner was Team Red, and all of his friends were Team Red, and that's going to come into play in a little bit. Inak, you don't look like I expected, but that isn't a bad thing. Thanks, Inak. I appreciate it. But basically, the server owner is on Red Team. And 2 of the moderators are on Yellow Team, which happens to be me and my buddy. And this buddy is the person that held my current position before I did. Just to give you an example of the fucked up things social interaction can get you. And there were like 2 blue team members. Now, the thing about this that's really interesting to me is that this guy was where the money came from. Me and the other dude are where all the IT know-how came from. Oh, there was another red guy, but he was also kind of funding, but also a little IT. He was kind of mixed. And the blue team people were both community-focused moderators. Because this team was smart enough to keep the 2 of us away from this while we were doing that, because this makes you very irritable. The wig looks realistic. Thanks, Saru. I enjoy my very realistic wig. Doing this makes you very irritable with that, or at least both of us, the people in question. So I think it's funny how, like, this was completely accidental. The people who chose blue just like doing community stuff. I don't know. So, one day, my buddy from Yellow Team, he's at a gym, taking the gym. And at this point in the game, spoofing is a very bad problem. And one of the rules of the server, one of the automatic bans, temporary. We're talking like timeouts. This is the server where I first developed, by the way, ran into putting people in the naughty corner instead of banning them. And the reason we did that is because we were running a mapping product that people paid money for. Not that anybody would be running a Discord that went alongside a service that you paid money for. Anyway, we thought it more realistic to put people in the naughty corner, which basically was a role where you couldn't see or do anything except interact with the moderation tools and access the map you were paying for. And they never had to put you in the naughty corner. No, we didn't. But that's beside the point. You did nothing wrong. Why would we put you in the naughty corner if you did nothing wrong? God. So my buddy on Yellow Team is taking a gym. Somebody who knows the server owner spoofs into that gym and kicks him out while he's there. This is at a very public place with very long sight lines. It's very easy to tell when somebody is doing this here. It's a nursery. So, yellow guy complains to server owner, your buddy just spoofed me out of a gym. Server owner's like, this buddy is my buddy, and he wouldn't do that because he knows the position I'm in and how that would look. Remember, we're running a service for money. For mapping. Which requires spoofing to do. It requires creating bots and having those bots spoof. But the rule is basically, look, if you're using spoofing to catch Pokemon, we can't police that, but if you start using it in PvP contexts, we have a problem. That was the rule. So, this, and, you know, Red Team was actually the ones who did that the most, and that's why this was a server owner. It wasn't like an expertise or technical expertise thing. It was just like the server owner had the money to hire the people to get this done. So, we all respect this guy. And the friend is like, look, here's a picture of me. And it took him like 3 hours to get this picture. And that was the first. That's when my red flag started going off. Look, this is the picture from when we were there. And other yellow guy who is just like, he's an ex-Marine, very strong sense of fairness, not a liar. I say X. Is there really an X? Is there really an X? He's like, no, that guy was not there. I did not see him. I looked. And like I said, long sight lines. We see this picture. It took 3 hours to get to us. Former Marine. Thanks, Saru. It takes him like a while to get this picture. And we're both like, well, no, actually it wasn't me. It was just the other guy. Just the other yellow guy. He's like, the sun's in the wrong position. And I look at it, and as a photographer, I'm like, holy shit, you're right. This was the middle of summer when this happened. At the time of day we went, the sun should have still been pretty high. But in this picture, it was very low. It was like 4:30 in the afternoon. It's just stuff you notice. So we're like, this is suspect. We look at the EXIF data. The EXIF data checks out, but we're both suspicious. And I'm about to give people a lesson in talking to people. All right? Me and the other yellow guy, the next day, go to the nursery with this picture at the same time of day. And it is clearly off. Not only that, we get to, like, there was a display that was in the picture. We get to that display, it's in the completely wrong place. And we're about to just leave with that. And I go to my buddy, no, wait. Yeah, this is conclusive, but the server owner rejected our appeal to literal physics. Like, he didn't use physics as, like, a bar that he could measure against because he trusts this buddy of his so much. So we can't just stop with evidence. So how about we do this? You pull up the picture on your phone. I'm going to start recording with mine. And we're going to ask one of the workers when the last time this display was in the position it's shown in the picture. I was expecting to hear, like, a few weeks. We go to the guy. I'm recording. Yeah, the other yellow guy asks them the question, when's the last time this display was in this location? And he goes, oh, that was 7 months ago. Like, without missing a beat. He's just like, oh yeah, that was like 7 months ago. Dude faked the EXIF data. That's why it took him so long to get... That's why it took him so long to get the photo to his buddy. Because he had altered the EXIF data to fit his narrative. And I took that recording to the server owner. And let me tell you something about feelings and stabbing people in the back. The server owner let us keep running the server. But he went AWOL for 6 months. Because he was so broken up about that. That his buddy would go that far to lie over fucking Pokemon. Pokemon Go, of all things. Dude was not okay. He just wanted to do his job for like 6 months. He didn't talk to anybody in the server for 6 months before he came back. And I don't know if those two ever made up. I'm hoping they did, because it would be a ridiculous way to lose a friend. Like, obviously, that would be a ridiculous way to lose a buddy, because they were like buddies in real life before Pokemon Go came along. But, like, so I hope they made up. But, like, yeah, that dude was AWOL from the Pokemon Go server for, like, 6 months. Another useful lesson from that server is that we had all sorts of privileged roles that had nothing to do with moderating. So, like, we had community members that would, like, lead raids and stuff back when that was harder to do. Back when that required more in-person coordination. And we would just give them roles that helped them do their job. They technically had more privileges and powers than the average user, but we got that done by restricting what the average user could do down and putting them in charge of the channels where they were organizing their raids and creating events and all this other stuff. So these people became, like, in charge, but we didn't have to give them moderator responsibilities or brain damage from doing the moderator thing. All we did was let them, like, be in charge of doing those tasks for the community, and that was great. This is also where I got the OG role, because eventually I said, I'm getting tired of this, this moderation thing. Now, I mean, take my whole story for where I've been in moderation so far. Not even including the EVE Online days. I skipped that entirely. And I'm sick of it. This is when RM does his great not moderating for anyone anymore thing. And they're like, okay, dude, but, like, you've done so much for us. We're just going to make a role where you can still see admin chat, and you won't have any responsibilities, but we just want to, like, keep shooting the shit in admin chat with you, and you can have access to all the paid channels without paying. They create this role specifically for that called OGs. Me and one other person are OGs, and I don't think the other person, like, shows up anymore. I'm still in that server. So when I was talking in my first moderator thing about creating roles like that, that's where that comes from. And I think it's a great idea. I think it's a great idea to, like, recognize moderators who have, like, aged out. And I think you should force them to age out. I'm going to get back on that train. I think you should force them to age out. Don't let them do that job forever. Because yeah. Saru says, I have a role for RM, Gagey. Yeah, okay. Okay. So, that's what that's all about. Venerated. That's what that's about. So, now let's get to the meat. We haven't gotten to the meat yet. That's just backstory. My experiences, where I've been. That doesn't even include my professional experiences. I skipped all that. Like, I'm a security manager. I have a CISSP. Do I need to really talk about the professional stuff? I wanted to give the other juicier backstories and make it so my title wasn't completely clickbait. We do tell the truth a little bit around here. An hour and a half of world building? You should have seen me in Neverwinter Nights, man. Some people peak in high school. I peak in autism. He is a D&D nerd. Yep. Like, half the books back there are D&D books that I just don't have the time to use anymore. I would if I could, if I had the time. I love running games. Saru says, I was never a professional, made it up and just looked good doing it. Hey. I've got the get up. Who's to say I'm not doing that? Who's to say I didn't just make all of that up over the course of the week just to blow smoke up your asses, right? That's reasonable. I'm such a liar. Ooh, hot drink? Hot drink?
Decaf?
Yeah, hot drink for me?
Hot drink for you.
Thank you. Love you, sweetheart.
Love you too.
That feels good right now. She has brought me 2 vessels of liquid while I've been streaming in front of you guys, and neither of them are empty yet. The one I brought for myself's not empty yet. The smoke is messing with my sinuses. Hopefully we'll have a good long stream, and I can get through this moderation topic, and I know, and I don't have to talk about it again. She's helping you make piss. Absolutely. Ad starts in 25 minutes. I'll run the ad, like, at the 5-minute mark so it doesn't turn on pre-roll again. So, let's get to why we are here. Let's do a quick recap on what moderators can do to harm your community if they go bad. So they can make a community feel unsafe. Mod risks. Just a quick recap. We're not going to go over everything we did in the first stream. Unsafe, unwelcoming environment. Remember what I said earlier about everybody agreeing to Robert's rules. When you get tyrannical about it, and you and the population do not agree on what the rules should be, this happens. And that's, if you actually want a community, that's bad. That's my first recommendation. Make sure you want a community, because if you don't, do not have a Discord. We are going to talk about other platforms. Do not have a Discord if you don't want a community. If you just want an audience, and you don't want to spend your time doing community building, do not have a Discord. That is like my biggest, best advice I can give to you. Because Discord is where drama lives. It's basically on no other platform other than Reddit. Discord and Reddit. That's where all your drama llamas happen. They don't happen inside of Twitch chat. They don't happen on the blue site. That's just where your moderators enforce your channel rules. Some people can get crazy in the YouTube comment section, but that's generally not where drama happens. It's in the persistent platforms such as Reddit and Discord. Do not have those if you are not going to spend significant time not only building your community, but caring about it. Just don't go there. Okay. They can vandalize your socials. And your branding. Depending on what you let them do. You know, based on the access you give them. Say they wipe out all of your VODs. As an example. They can leak embarrassing information. This is the lawyer guy from earlier in the stream. This is the moderator for Elfin Psyop. Countless other stories. They can damage relationships. Oop. Why'd I put a D there? They can damage relationships. And I'm writing sloppy right now, and that's fine. With peers. I want code monkey or nothing at all. Dial M for monkey. So, like, this would be the whole Cinder situation. I could point to any number of situations, but, like, isn't that kind of a hot topic right now? How could I not mention this? how could I not mention the Cinder situation with this bullet point? Like, sometimes these things can be very damaging. Very damaging. Other times they just change your community in a way that isn't great, but like, let's be real here. When it comes to Discord drama, I think a lot of people get very nervous about this. And I think that's sometimes why they make their rules so terrible, is because they're nervous about this. But I don't think I have ever seen Discord drama actually affect the CCV. I don't think I've seen that one time. It is the most unserious thing. It is the most unserious thing. I am welcoming somebody to give me a counterexample. Surely there's one. I just haven't heard of it. Not with a major creator. Not with a major creator. That stuff doesn't affect CCV at all. Not that I've seen. So stop worrying about it. Stop. You just stop. Have the community you want to have. God, man, like, if you think Discord communities would, like, affect CCV... I mean, most of the people in your Discord don't even participate in your community. Let's talk about participation distributions. Let's not get into that. Let's stay on topic. Noodle. Yes, this is what I look like. Like every other IT professional. Welcome in, Noodle. We're just gonna keep going. Because I've repeated myself too much on that. It's evident. It's evident that, like, Discord stuff doesn't affect CCV. So stop worrying about it. Have the community you want. That community can be as spicy as you want it to. It can be as politically incorrect as you want it to be. It's not going to hurt your CCV. Saru says most 3 to 5k Discord populations only have about a dozen chatters active in Discord. Absolutely. The rest are there for emotes or notifications, like was mentioned earlier. The bulk of those people are not there to participate in the community. They might be there for, like, if you're interacting with your community a lot and you're like, hey guys, I want you to fill out this Google form for, like, chat submitted stuff. And then a lot of people come out of the woodwork for that. And they're like, oh yeah, I'm in that Discord. I can submit to this. But you could bypass that by just putting that in your Twitter too. You could put those links in your Twitter. You're probably going to get a lot of people from outside of your community if you do that. If you've got reach. But, you can do that even without a Discord. You just got to be willing to answer some things that might not actually be in your community. Yume says, that's why I'm not joining Discord servers for content creators. Yume, you better be believing in Discords for content creators. You in one. Or do I not count? I hear I don't count. Let's see. And they can damage relationship damage. Because they represent you, right? In streamer land, Discord moderators actually represent you, which is crazy to me. You should probably get an actual representative. That's another topic. But they can damage your relation with industry support. Like artists. Damning. Do I have 2 M's somewhere? Should damage have 2 N's? What is that? What is that? Pause. Damning dentage. Yeah. Oh, you're just being silly? Okay. See, when when a lot of people in the past have, like, been really pedantic about my spelling and grammar, I always thought that came from a place of, like, trying to be a Redditor midwit. But after you did it a few times, I got the impression you were, like, genuinely trying to help me get better at spelling and grammar. I don't know why I made that mental difference. It just felt different with you. I did misspell embarrassing. I've done that 4 times today. Because I was using that word at work in, like, documents, and the little red squiggles kept coming up. And I've actually been using that word a lot today. So, I'm leaving it. Because that's embarrassing. And I don't run away from embarrassing. I'm willing to embarrass myself to learn things. That's a skill a lot of y'all should learn. I'm willing to be embarrassed if it teaches me something. And to give me a little bit of humble pie. Because, there's a lot of people who could use more humble pie in their diets. Let's see. RM. Oh, man. And the way we're going to fix this... First of all, let's not lose this page. I've been erasing a lot today. Here's how we're going to fix it. Or at least mitigate it. We're going to fix it with the least... The light's getting to me. Least privilege principle. We're going to use separation of duties. We're going to use job rotation. Or that's a potential tool. See, at the end of this, or maybe I'll start it off with it, I have a big, and I'm going to preface this, I have a big, unnecessary, untenable, perfect way I would set up a Discord server if I had infinite time. And I'm going to go over that specifically because I don't think anybody realistically should be implementing it that way, but it applies a bunch of the tools that I'm going over tonight. Term limits. One of the things in politics is that if somebody wanted my job, the community could just vote somebody to replace me. Just worth thinking about. Role-based access. But, you know, that's another thing. Is the reason they could do that is because you can't ban people in this state from a political party. You literally can't. There's no way to keep them out. Business process diagramming, which is what we're about to do. Is that 2 M's? No. Training. Which I've heard of happening in this space, but probably isn't the best. Vetting. Vetting isn't done very well at all. Low social experience. And we're going to implement AAA. AAA stands for Authorization, Access, and Accountability. We're going to implement those. That smoke is doing a number on my voice right now. Diagram, if you're a dirty redcoat. You should add a dead zone because the camera blocks like half the... Oh, you're right. I should add a dead zone like... Don't type here. Or don't right there. You probably couldn't see that, that box I just drew. Oh no, that box is bigger than it needs to be. Okay, cool. Got more ads in 11 minutes. That's fine. Could be a little less, but yeah. Yeah, we're good. We're good. All right. So let's go with a very common scenario for a very small streamer. And this is not something I just see in Discords. I see this a lot in the adult space. So this is VTubers, small streamers, and small cammers. So you've got the streamer. You've got like 0 to 2 moderators. And they're kind of to the side of and share a space with the community. But I don't know about y'all. Mods in very, very small communities do not really feel like moderators half the time. And the reason they feel like that is because the community is not worth moderating in a behavior sense. They're there to keep people who are outside of the community out of it that are obvious rule breakers. You know what I mean? Do I have to explain that? Is anybody confused about what I'm trying to say there? Like if you've got a streamer with one mod, that mod is, yeah, they're dealing with obvious trolls, they're dealing with people who are not trying to be entryists, and I think it's because you're not big enough to be worth entrying yet. Right? But the other problem with this setup is they also usually have a boyfriend manager. Not always, but this is a common package. And I only want to go over this because forget the boyfriend part. This is the wrong place for a manager to be. A manager works for you. They manage a part of your business that you need done, but without costing you the time. Small outfits have bodyguards. Big ones have secret police. That's very astute, Lirio. Is waifu the boyfriend manager here? I can't deny that. But yeah, you should take your boyfriend manager and you should put him there. This can be your boyfriend manager. They should not have unlimited access to all your business shit. They just shouldn't. When waifu was doing stuff, I did take this role. I intercepted... So I guess where I would have been... Where would I have been in that setup? Let's go to another setup. Where I would have been in that setup. So you've got the content creator. I'm getting there, waifu. Don't put the cart before the horse. Cock. And then you have customers down here. And they consumed the content. But customers that wanted to go in this direction had to go through me. But I was not involved in any of this part. I did not have any friction here. Because what does that do? Absolutely nothing. And this is a very common thing in Twitch streaming now, where this person will also be here. Where they will also be able to prevent this from happening. RM probably wrote the best and most spicy replies. I absolutely did, especially of people who would send me, like, pictures of $12 adult novelty items with overtures of, I'd love to see you use this. Because in her profile, it literally said that I managed all the DMs. It was very upfront, but nobody reads. That was actually also a cardinal sin in the Pokemon Go server, is if you bragged about not reading the rules, you were just gone if you weren't paying for anything. You may, if you ban somebody from Twitch and you have the most retarded button in Twitch turned on, they can't view your content live, but they can view all of your VODs. It's the dumbest button ever, for reasons I might get into later if I remember. It's not a big deal. But your mods in a Twitch scenario can interfere with this. I don't think they can do that in YouTube. I don't think that's a thing in YouTube. I don't think that platform supports that at all. I don't know if it's a... Blue Site's kind of, a dark spot there. I don't know if that's a thing on Blue Site. Obviously, since, the orange site, not the hub, but the other orange site that looks like it's from 1992, since its whole thing is live performance, banning somebody from your channel there is like automatically you can't view their content, but that's a little more understandable there. It's not a thing in YouTube. That's what I thought. Thank you, Saru. It's not a thing in YouTube. This can't happen in YouTube. It cannot happen. Yeah, YouTube ban just prevents chatting. It does not prevent the content consumption, and you've got to think about why that is. It's because it's stupid. It's a public broadcast. This is why X changed its ban rules. It's a public platform. It's not Skype. It's not Yahoo Messenger. It's a broadcast to broadcast. Like, I'm broadcasting my opinions. You're broadcasting your opinions. You don't want me and you interacting. Okay, we block each other. Now I can't DM you. Now, I can't reply to your posts. I can't retweet you. But I see all your shit because you're broadcasting to the public, and you see all my shit because I'm broadcasting to the public. Now, how that's served in your... Like, there's some things about... It's not served to you intentionally. But, like, that's the whole idea, right? You're broadcasting in public. Which is why I haven't blocked some people here. This is stupid. It doesn't do anything. I'm already using incognito. Let's see. And that's all I have to do in Twitch, is use incognito. Like, if I care. Ad break in 1 minute. It's about to turn on pre-roll again. So I'm gonna run the ads, and we'll be right back. I will probably actually do a piss break this time, so it's gonna run a little longer. See y'all on the other side. I can see you! But that's okay, you can be gay, I'm not jealous. I'm not the jealous, possessive type. Let's turn the RuneScape music down. You don't have to scatter. You can just make out in front of me. I don't care. I'm not gonna have a Yang Sang dream about it later. It's fine. Lirio says, what if we want you to be? I'm not. I can't even work that up for kayfabe. Anyway. Hopefully by next stream, I have the better camera set up, because the dynamic range on this thing is awful. Because what I wanted for this was like a low-key background. But this camera just can't handle that. Am I sure about what? Yume, you stopped spelling scatter at a very unfortunate place. Why does it still show Lirio as a raider? He's got a founder's badge. He's been in chat like the whole time. Why does this keep happening? Hold on. I'm gonna take a picture and put it in the Discord, because my Discord kittens, that's a club you can't buy your way into, by the way. Only OGs are allowed there. Fuck you. He tagged me. Embarrassing. It almost looks like pissing. Oh, that's great. That's great. I love my Discord. May it never change. We don't even have mods. For some reason, it still works. Anyway. That's enough about telling my viewers about how special they won't be. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. My OG peeps, they have a special status. My OG peeps will always have a special status. It will never be anything anyone outside of that group can ever get to or aspire to. Because I am not a reject, and I don't try to convince people that there's no such thing as a favorite. I don't think that little of other people's intelligence. Jesus Christ, idol culture kayfabe just pisses me off sometimes. I just sprayed the camera. This is why I have the guard here, because my plosives are explosive, man. I'm gonna have to clean my monitor now. Anyway. So yeah. So you should learn the difference between a platform where this can happen and a platform where it can't. But that was the setup. We didn't have mods. We didn't need them. Our primary platform we used to, like, tease content was Reddit, which is auto-moderating in a lot of ways. And I shouldn't name the site we were on. It's not the one you're thinking. But there were inherently not... Hold on. Okay, I did turn my mic on. I wanted to see if you guys were letting me talk muted to see how long it would take me to figure it out, because that's a bit I would expect y'all to play. I thought I might have forgotten it. Anyway. You guys are fun. I expect fun things out of you. Let's see. So yeah, I won't name the site we were on, but moderation was not necessary there either. It was a clip site. It was not very live interaction. So... there weren't really issues there. So those are both very common setups. Did anyone else in chat turn audio on yet? We all have a bit of monkey inside of us. That's true. So let's get to, like, what I would consider to be the first reasonable setup. And then we can add features onto it. So you have the streamer / content creator, because like I said, like, me and Waifu weren't live. We were on, like, clip sites and stuff. So you could just put content creator there. I'm going to put streamer. And then you have whatever platforms you choose. We'll just use P's in a square to represent the platforms. And in early setups, I think all of your mods are going to sit between this level. So we'll just move this. Early on, like after you hit the point where you need more than 1 or 2 mods. Or maybe at that point, who knows. I want to be careful how I structure this, because I don't think... Maybe we'll just go with typical. I do not think moderators on any platform should sit entirely between the streamer and these areas. And in fact, generally they don't. Guys, what's the difference between somebody who watches your Twitch stream and breaks every single one of your community rules on 4chan and somebody who watches your Twitch stream and breaks one rule in your Discord? What's the difference between those two people? Because I think this is a good example of why people have this so fucking backwards. It's that the person in 4chan... I'm getting some answers. The second one will not be able to watch your stream soon. That is correct, Kaviri. That is correct. So, the VT hate watcher, who does nothing but schizo about your... Or schizo. I'm working on that pause. Does nothing but schizo about your personality, your personal relationships, antis your content. As long as he keeps doing that on VT, he can watch this and can consume this, and these guys cannot do fucking anything. But the guy who breaks one rule... Alright, so this is going to be Twitch. The guy who breaks one rule over here is going to get blocked from this and this. I want every streamer to think about this situation very seriously. When you are determining how severe the punishments are going to be for breaking rules on one of your community platforms. Because you might just be creating this guy, first of all. You might just be creating that outright. Second, this guy can just exist and be unbothered by anything you do, and you will never know about it unless you ego search on VT. What does that tell us? It means that the anti we ignore is the anti that doesn't exist. If someone's opinion bothers you, and you care about that person, you should probably think about that and what the word care means. Oh, yeah. Yeah, there was that one schizo that was like, they thought that a streamer caused us to get a divorce. That was funny. That was actually funny. And because these guys, a lot of these guys, I'll put Discord back here. Because when it comes to like user submitted content, a lot of these guys will sit here and they will just lurk while they're over here breaking every single rule you have, while they're over here like, oh, I don't know, threatening people for joining your community. They'll lurk here or pretend to be nice here, and they'll just do all their mean stuff out here and never get punished for it because you will never see it, detect it, anything. But the guy who breaks a few minor rules here, but is honest about his participation, you're going to ban him. I want you to think about that. Because I don't know what it is specifically about Discord and Reddit mods. They get that, Plaus says the solution? Aggressively off-platform police and purge your community. Only reasonable reaction. I agree, Plaus. That is the way you should go. That's the way you should handle this situation. The bigger picture looks fucked up. Yeah. But, like, how do I put this? Has anybody ever been in, like, high school band? Or ROTC? Or really just had any teacher or instructor that was not aware that the other classes existed and would assign you homework on that basis? You did clarinet? Oh my god, of course you did. Are you secretly my 32-year-old friend that was also a clarinet main? I've heard your voice. I know you're not, but like... Sorry says, no, I think the best answer is to ban all viewers because a few innocents lost to get the guilty is desirable. Clarinet, bass clarinet, and contrabass? Is that how you say that? I've never heard of that third one. No, waifu, you have to spell that with 2 S's now. You have to spell based with 2 S's. And no E either. If you were going for a pun, but yeah, you should. Anyway. If you can acknowledge that these people are outside of your control, you should probably go easy on the folks that are willing to be under your rules. Because these people are the good guys. Almost all of them. Almost. Anyway, what I was saying is that, like, you have these instructors in, like, schools, right? And they assign homework like they're the only class that you have. Everyone I know has experience with this, but it might not be a universal thing. And I know that modern schooling actually focuses a lot on reducing homework load, so that might also be an age thing. However, hold on. Did I miss... I remembered. Is Kaviri still here? Oh, do I have to type out the whole thing? Whee! I shouted out Kaviri! Go check out Kaviri's streams, guys. He plays games, and he's better than he gives himself credit. Let's see. Let's just say this is Reddit. If you're a streamer... What's Reddit good for? I think Reddit might be okay / maybe even good for directing your users to put React content into. I think it's a better idea than Discord. I don't think either are great for that, but I think Reddit is the better place for it. I think Reddit might be the better place for it. It's kind of 50-50. I'm not strong on that opinion, but like I was mentioning earlier, if you were going to go Discord-less, that would be where you would put that stuff. You could do it there. You could do it there. And then a lot of the content will self-police because of the updoot system. Yes, you're going to get updoot clicks. But like clicks are everywhere. You can't avoid those. But Reddit is loosely self-policing on post quality, and Discord is not. If somebody does a lot of low-quality spam in your Discord, you have to get your mods to moderate them. So that's not a great situation. So if you were going to try to go through a Discord-less model, you could transfer community participation to a Reddit. I'm not repeating that, Noodle. Let's not do that. John Twitch does not like that when you name names. Okay? John Twitch don't like that. That's a platform thing. Anyway. You guys. Anyway, if you're gonna post like a bunch of low quality slop, Reddit has a better way of dealing with that. Yeah, I agree, Lirio. Absolutely. This is a problem in a lot of places. It's a problem. Waifu. You're edging. Don't let anybody say I'm not fair. Anyway. You're flying close to the sun there, sweetheart. Nice weird cat, though. Let's see. I'm gonna drop it. I'm gonna drop it. You could use Reddit to substitute for Discord for user-posted content. And you could even use the Flare system to sort it out. I'm not saying it's better than Discord. I'm saying you could do it and that I have seen it done. I think the more niche you are, or like, yeah, the more niche you are, the better. Like, since I focus on security content, I could probably get away with Reddit over Discord as an option. Because that's pretty nichey. You could do the same thing with, like, naval history. But I think Discord might be a better place if you were going for, like, much broader appeal. I don't know. I'm still working that out in my head. These are just options that you, as the streamer, can select from. And, you know, the pros and cons of each. Reddit's moderation ticketing system is built in. Just, by the way, you don't have to run a ticket bot in Reddit. You just message the mods of the subreddit via their existing mod mail. So, that's built in. You don't have to hand-wring over that system. Let's also put YouTube up here. You could also go with the Locked Heart site, if you know what that is. Yes, Spicy. That's another platform. I don't see a lot of moderation happening over here either. I should probably familiarize myself with that platform a little bit more, but because I know so little about the moderation backend of this particular site, I won't really be giving any moderation, like, diagramming advice to it. You can and might possibly should at a certain size have YouTube moderators, but the way that platform is built is they want you to crutch on the auto mod at least a little bit. Fansly has very strong auto mod tools, then use those. Just like YouTube. Just like YouTube. Crutch on those. The platform is designed around it. Or at least the live part is. So that could be one thing you do. Just recognize that there are things that are outside of your control. Because that seems to be an issue. There's a lot of control issues in the streaming space. You need to have a healthy concept of what is and isn't in your control. And then you also need to have a healthy concept of what the difference is between can and should do. Hey, Nero, what's up? I get to do it. I remembered. I get to do it. How about I give a shout out to Nero, who's about to be a dad again. And does a lot of Digimon content, and is very good at Digimon content. He should be your go-to Digimon streamer, in my opinion. Now I get to do it back. Ha! Take that, buddy! Can we ban Nero now? Not yet, not yet. We gotta spring that on him when he least suspects it. When it hurts him the most. That's when we'll do it. Let's see. What new introduction? Yeah, what is that? I don't know. I've never seen that before. Let's see. So, one of the things you can add here... Oops. Which we had in the Pokemon server. We had a few, actually. Now, we called them mods, but we were sensible people, and we could just separate their duties in our heads without actually needing super roles. We were all in the same admin chat. The admin chat wasn't tiered, but what we called everybody was different. They had different colors. On the front end, it looked like everything was separate. Yeah, I don't know what that introduction thing is. Another way that I'm a totally professional streamer. But you've got your community manager, and it handles communication in this direction. And then, especially in Discord, where normally this is the setup, you take that away. And you never, when you have a community manager, all the criticism of the mods goes here. All community concerns go here. The mods are not over this person. They are not even connected in the org chart. Community manager reports directly to the streamer. The mods also report directly to the streamer. They do not report to each other, though I would suggest that occasionally you gather up your moderation tickets and have your community manager audit them. Is what I suggest doing. But these two people should not talk. That should not be a thing. They should not communicate. They should not share back channels. Can you prevent them from talking to each other in DMs? No, but if you find out that's happening, get rid of both sides of that. Saru says, gacha streamers are the best at using community managers, in my opinion, since there's money involved, or gacha at least. Yeah, I think in any place where you have money involved, this should be the setup bare minimum. And the community manager should probably be somebody that the community manages who that is. At some level. Maybe not deterministically, but at some level, they should control who that is. In my opinion. This is called separation of duties. This is what I was talking about earlier. This is called separation of duties. Because these people, if you have a tier 1 help desk, what is he going to think, he or she is going to think about end users in their first month? Probably not great depending on their experience again. But what are they going to think after 6 months? What's the difference in the opinion of a tier 1 help desk technician from their first to their 6th month? It gets real bad. Going full, I have no mouth and I must scream. Yes. This will happen to your moderators. And it's going to happen to your moderators that are the most accurate. I went over the negativity bubble before, and I explained why this dynamic happens. I won't go over all of it again. But the mods are like your phone tree. And it won't take them long to start, like, resenting the community. It happens every time. It's something I have had to manage in everywhere I have been, any sort of moderator or moderator adjacent. It's a thing you must manage. It's the human side of this. And if you're not good at managing the human side of things, again, you might want to consider excising this. Getting rid of this dynamic completely. And having your content and where that's broadcast be law. If you are bad at people, you probably don't want either of these. And that's just the mistake people make. You don't need them. You don't need them. Discord is not... I've had people argue this with me, but they're wrong. Discord and Reddit, well, we'll just say Discord. Reddit's different. Discord is not a discovery platform. A lot of people treat it like it is. It's not. Your Discord does not get you new viewers. What it can do is be a retention device. It can do that. It can aid in... yeah, Yume's got it. It's a retention tool. Best case. But if you're using it poorly, it won't do that either. You remember, this is what happens when Discord works well. When your Discord runs well, it is a retention tool. If you use Discord to get community engagement, to contribute to the body of the community, so like, there's places for them to contribute art, there's places for them to contribute memes, there's places for them to submit content that will become part of your content. That's when it's effective as a retention tool. If you get lazy and you stop using it for that, it's almost all downside because it's going to cause drama. It always does. It's like Facebook. Have you ever seen your family on Facebook? They fight all the time on Facebook. You get them in the house, they're fine. You get them together at a party, they're fine. You get them on Facebook, they start fighting with each other. Every time. Now, that's not to say that everyone who fights on Facebook doesn't fight in real life, but, like, they're just going to fight anyway. But Facebook makes a lot of people fight that normally wouldn't fight with one another. What's Facebook, Boomer? I'm asking if people have seen it. It's just a similar dynamic. It's a fight-causing... woke Instagram. It's a fight-causing environment. And I think Discord is also a fight-causing environment. Especially if you're trying to coddle people. Then the fights get worse. Because then they can't sort it out themselves. They gotta do this ring around the rosy where they're constantly tattling on each other to the mods because the mods have inserted themselves as, like, how you handle interpersonal conflict. And that's lesson number 2. Do not handle interpersonal conflict in your Discords. You tell those people to block each other and move on. You do not get involved in that shit. Remember the story about the guy who was willing to fake EXIF data for Pokemon Go to his best buddy? Don't do it. Do not get involved with spats between people. It will always end poorly for you, and you're going to be bamboozled eventually, if not almost immediately. You are going to be bamboozled. Availability principle. Remember? You think people who are typically bad at socializing are constantly shut in? You know, these are also moderators. That's their typical population, but streamers too suffer from this. And you put them both together, they're bad at relationships, and then they're going to get involved in interpersonal fights? Are you for real? You are the least qualified person on the planet to be doing that. I could probably find people at the psych ward more qualified. Saru says, I went outside today. Yeah, and that's another thing. People tried in, like, the Pogo server, they kept trying to bring us into their interpersonal squabbles, which one of them escalated to, like, ex parte orders, by the way. You want to be involved in ex parte orders? Don't do that. Don't involve your Discord server in ex parte orders. That's a bad time. It's like, no, you guys need to settle that in court. You leave us the fuck out of it. Like, I've done the Discord thing, but with people who know each other in real life and know where each other lives, knows what their car looks like, because a week or two ago, they were all riding in the same car to do raids together, and now they're fighting, and they know where each other lives, and all that other crap. Way worse than anything on a anonymous... No one lives near each other. Well, that's not true. No one lives near each other Discord situation. Way worse. Don't get involved in interpersonal spats. Don't let your mods get involved in interpersonal spats. Not your fights. Don't take them. Let's see. So, I think if you do just these basics... Me marching over to Alex's house because he didn't priest bubble me. Exactly. Exactly. That's a... Yeah, exactly that. You shaved me out of a gym. It's war now. Had that happen, but a few things did escalate to, like, physical altercations. There were ex parte orders. Then they got to the court, and then their cases were dismissed because they were like, are you fucking kidding me over Pokemon? I'm not issuing general restraining orders. You go figure this out. That's where those cases ended up. But, like, the process was invoked. Gee, like all the Wild Guild drama happens on Discord too? Who'da thunk? Yeah, and you also have the guy pretending to be the girl who gets into the guild bank. That also happens in Discord. Nero says, I can't focus. Why are you so hot? I'm trading my wife for you. Okay. Appreciate it. Let's get gay. Let's get gay. Anyway, Discord is your retention tool. It's not going to help discovery. It's not going to help you get new chatters. if you manage it well and you manage your Discord experience well, those are big caveats. Those are big carrots. Then it can become a retention tool. If it's handled poorly, it's just bad all around. A seagull and an angel? Dear God, it's full of feathers. When we fuck, we will look like Ezekiel's wheel. That's what it'll look like. Let's see. So we're gonna erase all that. What was next? Because I had a plan for this. Oh yeah, let's talk about, the titty stack. We have the lamp stack in tech. We have the titty stack in streaming. Twitch. I'm not calling it X. Twitter. Discord. YouTube. This is the titty stack. For those of you who don't know what the lamp stack is in tech, it represents a common server setup, you know, Linux, Apache, MySQL, and like, what was it? PGP? I forget. I was never a big fan of the lamp stack, but that's the point. Right? That's the basics, the basic idea there. Server says the hub has streaming too now. The hub has there's a lot of creators that are not a big fan of the hub because of their history with CSAM. And I think that's as far as I want to go on my stream. I am also not a big fan of the hub for their history with CSAM, and they've had streaming for a while, and it's not great. It's a tacked-on experience. So I'm not a big fan of explaining what you should be doing with the hub, because I don't think you should. Go to the Locked Heart site, or the O with Wings site, or even the Green site. If you want to know what the Green site is, watch streams. We talk about the Green site sometimes. Nero. Also, I was definitely just gonna message that to waifu, then figured I... Okay, yeah, sure. Okay. But yeah, I think this is the classic stack. You've got YouTube for your VODs and discovery content. Discord is your community retention tool. Retention and engagement, I kind of view those as the same thing. That's your retention and engagement tool. Twitter is also an engagement tool. And then Twitch is like your primary content. Unless you're a YouTube streamer, and then you get to cut this out entirely, and then it's your VODs discovery and your primary content. So that might be worth considering. Yeah, even Facebook has streaming now. Actually, they've had streaming for a while. It's just not great. Let's see. But yeah, this is the most common setup that I've seen. Your discovery happens on YouTube. Your retention and engagement happens on Discord. Your engagement happens on Twitter. I'm not sure how much Twitter helps with retention. Little fuzzy on that. But that's your primary stack, right? And we only care about that in reference to these charts. But we do have the titty stack. So let's get into, like, we've gotten to the reasonable things. We've the org charts that kind of create a little bit of separation of duties and help your community police itself, because that's really what you want to happen, because the community already reflects you. Since your primary content happens on Twitch or on YouTube, you know, chat reflects the streamer. So they're already going to be mostly on board. They should have some say in how the community is run, because they are the community. They have to agree. Remember the politics lesson. The rules worked because everybody agreed to them. When you carpet pull, that creates issues, that creates eggshell environments. Saru, I am the community. No, the community's the community. Nero, God, I guess I need to learn how to make YouTube videos. Yeah, me too, because that is the discovery platform. I'm aware of it. I tried to start there, but because I kept getting self-conscious about things that didn't matter, I decided to just start hitting the go live button and start making content, and then working on making it the good content later. Because bad content... bad content. Because doing your content at all is better than doing it perfect. Because if you try to do it the second way, you won't do it. And then I became aware of that, and I started doing these streams. That's basically how that worked. So now we can get into, like, RM's completely unreasonable. No one should go through this much effort. Discord org chart. All right. As always, the streamer is going to be on top. The streamer is the CEO. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to decide what my platforms are. And then I'm going to have a mod team that is specific to that platform. It could be one mod. It could be multiple mods. But I'm going to have mods that are local to the platforms that I am modding them on. If I put out moderator applications... That arrow doesn't go there. Not in that direction. If I put moderator applications out, and your application comes back, and your primary claimed experience is Reddit. Let's call this one Reddit. All right, this is Reddit. This is Discord. And this is Twitch. Let's add another one for YouTube. Let's say I didn't want to do the standard titty stack, right? Let's say I swapped out Twitter for Reddit because I'm a dumbass. But let's say I did that. And this is my stack. All right, just hypothetically. I put out mod applications, which I'm not going to do. I'm going to pick for several things, but I'm not really going to put applications out. And I've already explained why in a previous stream. But if I put mod applications out, because that's what you've decided to do, and it comes back and the bulk of your experience is on Reddit, I'm going to consider you for Reddit. What I'm not going to do is throw you into Discord, because that's a different culture. I'm definitely not throwing you into YouTube, because you're just going to moderate that to hell. And I'm definitely not throwing you into Twitch for the same reason. I will have to spend more time training you how to not have a stick up your ass than I am going to get from you in lowered amount of duties. Duty. the amount of responsibilities that I shed by making you a moderator of a platform that's culture that you might not be familiar with, or because you're from Reddit, you might be hostile to, is not going to be worth the trade-off. Nero says, I know what it is. You look like a sexier Zach Galifianakis without a drug problem. I don't know how I want to take that. Waifu thinks I look good. I'm pretty down about how I look, honestly. I'm pretty down about how I look. For the same reason, the community managers are also going to be platform specific. So they're attached here. And all the community managers report to me. They do not go through the mods. They will have a status. I will have a bot. I will have a process by which the mods cannot even mod the community manager on the platform that they're responsible to. I'm going to work it out. I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to have a bot that says, if you see a moderator, moderate the community manager. I want you, the bot who has god powers on the server, to undo that action, demod that guy, and then send me an email. And the mod that did that goes to the naughty corner. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to implement that system. Let's talk about automations. Now that I've mentioned that. Because you want to automate as much as you can. And that's going to be part of my system. That's going to be part of my system. We have automations. We are going to do things like monitor and generate reports that come to me. They don't go to the mod team. They don't go to the head mod. They don't even go to the community manager. Those reports come to me. Maybe it's because I'm a big tech guy and I already work with this sort of log collection aggregation and that sort of stuff. Yume says, does that mean this stack makes it basically impossible to enforce cross-platform ban? Yes, and that is by design. That is by design. Cross-platform bans are stupid. You can have somebody... Alright, I say they're stupid. Let me go over the levels of stupid. Let me go the levels of fuck around. Because there are different levels a chatter can fuck around. Oh, did I lose those notes? I might have lost those notes. Sweetie, can you go through my bag and get my remarkable, please? While we're waiting for that.
Okay.
There are levels of punishment that I implement.
Here you go.
Thank you, sweetheart. You didn't have to do that.
You asked me to.
I know I asked you to. It was not a command. It was an ask.
Yes.
Oh, I do have them. They're right here. This is where I wrote them down. Okay. In my system, by the way, mods do not vote on anything. There is a hierarchy, and people with questions ask up the hierarchy. That way, somebody is responsible for the decision. Because all voting does is remove responsibility. Well, they think it does. They think when they vote, they remove personal responsibility. But they don't, because if you sign off on it, if you're like, okay, now that we've voted, that means that we all agree that this should be the course of action, you have now taken responsibility for the action. You can't separate yourself from the action by saying, oh, well, I voted against it. If you feel that way, you resign. If you vote and the body goes against what you wanted and you feel strongly about that, you resign. That's what you do. That's how you show you extreme disagree. That is how you distance yourself from a bad decision in those situations. Because if you do anything else, you did not actually distance yourself from the action, and you have endorsed it, and you are now responsible for it. My mods do not vote. They have a hierarchy, and people up the hierarchy have to take responsibility when people down the hierarchy won't. And the people down, if you eschew responsibility enough, you just don't be a mod anymore, because that's the entire point. The waifu, I'm talking about Discord. This is my unreasonably complex but very secure Discord setup. Okay? This is how you keep people from ruining your brand, or ruining your retention, or changing your community in unexpected ways. Because it's the insider threats that are going to do that to you. It won't be the people on the periphery of your access jawbreaker. So you got to police the guys that are closer to the middle. Let's see. So we automate processes. We make sure that there are places in the Discord where moderators cannot remove messages. We have a bot that monitors... And these are very common bots to have. These aren't my bots. Bots that monitors moderation. There are default auditing tools. They are limited, but they do exist. We definitely need a bot for the next one. Member deletion detection. And what I mean by that is, by default, when you delete a message in Discord, it is gone immediately. So what you have to do is you have to have a bot that monitors all the messages, ingests those messages, and then if it finds that that message has vanished or disappeared, and there are events for this, it spits out an embed into a private channel for this purpose, where it goes, hey, this person just deleted their own message, and this was the content of that message. Because if you don't have that, people can really play fuck games with your ability to moderate. There was one weird situation where a person like seemingly would talk to the moderators by doing that because they knew there was a bot that did that. It was weird. Just ban RM, sure. Let's see. We also have, for Discord specifically, we have the no-no corner I was talking about, where you send people instead of ban them, so that if they're on a platform, that way you don't have to like use Twitch to handle Discord unban requests, because that's dumb. And you don't have to use Reddit for that, or you don't have to go off-platform for this. Yeah, gay baby jail of shame. You just have a role for that. All they can do is interact with your... Yeah, the no-no zone. All they can do is interact with... they can't even interact with each other. They can only interact with your, like, mail bot. And we also have, like, spam protection there. Right? We have spam protection on the mod mail bot. And we can have a super no-no corner where you don't even have that. You're just there. And you come off on a timer and go back into the regular no-no zone. Like I said, very complicated, but there are reasons for all of this. And that way you can handle ban appeals inside the platform, which I think is very important. Because you can have people that are like absolutely are toxic here, but are just fine to be here. And vice versa. I don't know why you would be fine here, but not fine here. That's probably a cross-platform time situation. Let's get into the seriousness levels of that, actually. Because I was talking about that earlier. Ooh, ads are starting in 2 minutes. Before I get into that, we're going to take another piss break, guys. We're going to take another break for ads. Run the ad. Doot, 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 doot. I still have the mic on. All right, chat. I am done making piss. Are you proud of me? Are you proud of me for making piss? Yeah. You can't get me with that one. Not today. Well, not this hour. So, levels of fuck around. Levels of fuck around. Alright. So, at what level... What level does an instant ban happen? The highest level of fuck around. Because this is the highest punishment, right? Instant ban, perma. It should be for the highest level of fuck around. Highest FO is for highest FA. Guys. Oh, when do you think he's gonna unmute? Yeah. I'm watching my audio levels. So, what I will do is turn down the fucking RuneScape music, though. It's kind of loud. Gnome Ball is coming up. Oh, wait, it's not? Was it not loud? Was it not overpowering me? Guys, I need a vote. Does Gnome Ball need to go back up? Spicy says it was. Waifu, you might need to, adjust your levels. Because based on what I'm seeing on my end, it was high earlier. I got one guide by my one gal. Alright. So. Oh, can we have a one gal? Can you find a one gal, emote? Waifu? If it's louder, I can't hear RM, and that's perfect. Thanks, Saru. I love your support. He says with the founder's badge. I lost multiple gals. I see what you did there. Alright. So, we've got the highest level of fuck around, and that's like clear and urgent threats to the community. I don't think these are things that you should be putting subjective things into. This is like, somebody has an obviously compromised account, it's a bot raid, illegal or toss material is being posted. I wouldn't even say toss on the first offense, because toss on the first offense will not get you punished if they do it. What gets you punished is you not moderating them. So I would go for, like, urgent threats to the community would be, like, illegal material. Hate raids, that sort of thing. Clearly external forces. So, like, telling the mods they suck at their job, says Nick. Yeah, no, that's not what this is. These are clear and urgent threats to the community. CSAM, all illegal stuff. Sort of. On Discord, that gets weird, because on Discord, illegal stuff can include stuff that's legal in your jurisdiction. So, like, Discord toss has as one of its rules, like, you can't talk about crimes, but since Discord is international, let's say you're talking about 420 stuff a little too hard, it might be legal where you're at, but as far as Discord is concerned, talking too much too explicitly about 420 is toss. So, like, you gotta watch that. But that wouldn't be, not even that, to me, rises to the level of clear and urgent threat to the community. That's just somebody not thinking about what they're saying and violating toss. And that goes all the way down to the lowest level of FO in the list, which we will get to. So, We're talking about really bad stuff is here. We're not even talking about, like, dropping hard Rs yet. That's the next level. The next level is violating the most serious community rules. But I put this in the wrong category. Because that is actually no longer a permaban in my escalation system. Let's see. Can I just lasso this somewhere else for just a sec? Just bring that down a little bit. So what this is... this is going to be first offense temp ban. Temp. If you don't have a no-no corner in your Discord, it's hard to do this. This person should understand what they did is severe. It should not be, in my opinion, forever removal. This is stuff you can come back from. I remember somebody who actually, like, willingly admitted that they got banned on another platform for saying racist stuff, and they got a 30-day. And I feel like that's a little too long, but it goes along with this standard. It goes along with this standard. And that's that's in the community you think it is. Let's see. Nero says, serious question. What about someone from not America talking about brothel activities which would be illegal in Freedom Land? That's probably Discord toss. Unfortunately. Ban me harder, daddy. I want to suck down some Dippin' Dots. Okay. Pause. I'm going to read your comment first. I'm not reading that. VOD scum suckers can read that. VOD gang, you're scum suckers now. Excellent bait. Excellent bait. Excellent bait. You know what the best part about bait like that is? Is that it's true. Bait that is true makes the most excellent bait. Alright, so what goes under the violating the most serious of rules? Doxing probably goes into clear and urgent threat. Unhinged aggressive behavior. Basically behaviors that could be expected to prevent the community from functioning in immediate time frames. Think of it that way. What do you consider irredeemable? Should go at this level. This is not a platform existential level. This is the level just below that. Now, if it's multiple offenses, this, and by multiple, I mean any more than one, this should go to permaban. But these rules should be first offense temp ban. And probably your longest setting. So, like, if your longest setting for a temp is 30 days, that's what this is. If your longest timeout for a temp is 2 weeks, that's where this goes. I'm also, in my automated processes, I'm broadcasting bans and their reason. It goes in an embed in a bot channel only bots can post in. Mods cannot delete the message in there. The entire community should be aware of who is banned and why. That is because if you have a community manager, but you don't have this, you're just playing games. You have a fake community manager if you don't have transparency on who's getting banned and why. Let's see. So, the next level, glorifying harm of self or others, that's usually toss level. Saru. Glorifying harm of self of others is usually this because of how existential of a problem that is on platforms like Twitter, Discord, Reddit. I believe this might be a legal compliance rule, come to think of it. There's a reason glorifying harm of self of others is like a universal platform rule. It's very serious. Bare minimum, that goes here. Bare minimum, that goes here. Nero goes, then how do shed accounts and discords exist? Well, we can talk about how evenly these rules are enforced at the platform level another time. That is a topic for another day. Right now, we're talking about insider threats. All right, the next level is like... I want to put what it is before I put the level of fuck around, or find out what it is. The next level is the most serious rules that are redeemable. Remember, the length of these temp bans and how they're administered is a little reliant on the platform that you're on, because the platform you're on has to have some way... Jeez, what am I doing? It has to have some way for you to be able to do these things. But you generally can run bots or plugins that bring most of this functionality to most places. I think YouTube's actually one of the places where it's just like what YouTube gives you is what you get. And don't forget your Twitter mods. Don't forget your Twitter mods. They're very important to your Twitter experience. So the most serious rules that are redeemable, and those are up to you. That's why I'm not going to list them. Like, we are now firmly into subjectivity territory, so I can't tell you what these are or what they should be. That's up to you. This should probably be anywhere from your, like, 30-minute timeout to, like, maybe your 3-day timeout. It should be somewhere like that. Ish. Then we get down to moderate infractions that could elevate to serious if repeated. These are probably rules that go down to the level of deleting the post and verbally warning. Or just deleting the post. It depends on, like, what that level of find out is on the platform you're on. Nero! I did say we were firmly into subjective territory. If that's what you want your community to look like. Let's see. And then you have minor infractions. I have two categories of minor infractions. There's minor infractions and minor infractions that cannot escalate. Where does spank-worthy infraction fall on that list? Just got a good idea for Nero fan art. Oh no! Remember, content creators, there are things you cannot control. And what somebody commissions an artist to do to you is not one of those things. Just remember, people with the power to create art or the power to pay people to create art can do some fun things to you, and you have no recourse. Depending on what rules they cross and what jurisdiction you're in. I've always got to put that caveat there. And I think my coat came undone, but like super casual Friday, it's past 9 where I live, so I forget to button my coat. Big deal. One sussy guy. All right, so minor infractions are things where you just delete the post, and maybe you don't even say anything when you do it. And that's it. That's all you do. This is not... See, people get strict mixed up with tyrannical. Strict just means you are following your rules to the letter. Your rules themselves can be lax. But if you follow them strictly, you are being strict. It's not the same as being tyrannical. A lot of people confuse these concepts. If I have a tyrannical rule set, but I'm never following it, if I'm letting people off the most serious rules with verbal warnings, I'm not being strict. If I have, you're never getting timed out unless you hit the serious rule level, and I follow that to the T, I'm being strict, even though the rules themselves are pretty lax. Saru says, what do you mean? Everyone knows streamers and mods don't have to follow the rules? Yeah. And that can create problems with an engaged community. That can cause your community to become disengaged. That's the threat there. It won't really affect your CCV. It's not going to do anything like that. But what it will do is get your community disengaged. And if you rely on that for your content, that can be a problem. If you liked an engaged community just for the sake of having one, that can also be a problem. And you will have to do work to restore that if you let that get out of hand. And everybody, I think everybody fundamentally understands this on some level. Nero says, I'm not engaged, I'm married. Fair enough. And then there's minor infractions that cannot escalate. And those do exist, but I would like to caution you against having anything in that category as a rule anywhere. Those shouldn't be rules. I've just seen places where they exist. You should avoid having things in that category be rules. And that's really the only reason why I have that as a category. Do not nag. In most of these communities, remember, Discord allows 13-year-olds in it. Most of these communities are arranged as 18-plus communities, so you shouldn't have rules where they will never escalate if they're done repeatedly. Because that's what kids do. It's kids, it's minors that, violate the same rule over and over and over again just because they think they can, and they think it's, well, since it's not a serious rule, I can just keep doing it. Adults don't think that way. They know what escalation is. Adults should know what escalation is. Did they take the escalation clause out of the rules? You know who I'm talking about. Random thought. There used to be an escalation clause in there. Anyway, you should escalate. It should be a scale, and the seriousness of the punishment should reflect the seriousness of the infraction, keeping in mind that these are adults. Because a lot of people seem to forget. These are adults, and they can just shit-talk you on 4chan if they're being disingenuous. That's where the real shit-talkers go. That's where the real antis go. People who are dead set on being your antis are going to leave your spheres of influence. Because that's a thing you can do. You're not in control. I can just leave your sphere of influence, and you will never know who I am, and I will be able to shit-talk you all day, and watch your streams, and you will thank me when I resub, just like everyone else. Just like everyone else. But meantime, I'm on VT just absolutely trashing you. And doxing your audience and threatening your audience. But when I sub, you're going to be like, aw, thanks. Because you're not in control. And if you think you're in control, you need to take a long look in the mirror. Or watch my streams, where I explain all of it. You can just watch my streams. And then you don't have to think about it. I'll do the thinking for you. I'm good at that. Let's see. So yeah, this is what this looks like. It is staff heavy. I don't think anyone at any size should be doing this, like, practically. But only the biggest people could. It would be very secure. Waifu says, and yet he doesn't want to think about the next meal for me. I have no idea what you're talking about. I have no idea what you're talking about. Let's see. Also, in this system, we're going to separate some duties out. So if I have paid channels, if I had paid content, we'll just call it paid access. Check this out, guys. I'm going to find a way to make this freemium. Remember how I was talking about in part 1? You should find mechanisms to reward your mods when they time out so they don't feel punished for doing a good job. If you hit your 2 years or your 1 year, for me it's 1 year. If you're modding for me for 1 year, I'm going to kick you out. At least on Discord. I'm not so sure about Twitch. We'll see about Twitch. Or, Reddit's another place where I'd kick you out. I just think those are more stressful inherently. That's where all the drama happens. So on the drama platforms, when you time out, if I have these, you are getting access. Forever. And that will be my incentive. If I have paid access areas, and you mod for the duration, to where you can't mod anymore, and the only way you're reaching that is doing a good job in the first place. So I don't have to worry about, like, saying if you did a good job. You're not reaching my maximum mod time if you're not doing a good job. So, once you're done, if I have paid access, you're just in without paying. That's how I'm going to reward you. If I have money, I'm just paying you to be a mod, and I settle it that way. After your service, you're getting a role. And that role will be resistant to moderation. Because we reward loyalty in this house. We reward loyalty in this house. So we can do extra roles. Another way to get freemium access is to be a contributor to the community. Let's say my paid channels are $4 a month. If you do fan work that I consider, let's say I consider that a $12 level, you're just in for that month. You're clipping me, you're doing fan art, you're doing memes. If you're doing those consistently, welcome to the paid access channels. If you stop, you leave. But if you're doing them consistently, you just won't have to pay. Because I value those things. Because they are valuable. What you are doing is you are making an environment that people want to be in. You're helping me retain. And I'm not even paying you. You're just doing it for the love of it. I'm going to reward you for that. And I think, off to the meme mines, boys. That's what I'm doing. Now, maybe you don't get into the $20 a month Fansly channel by doing fan art. Or maybe your fan art's as good as Matt's and you do. I gotta draw the line somewhere. If your art's as good as Matt's, you're probably in the free Fansly tier. Hell, if your art is like Matt's, you might be making the Fansly content. Who knows? Yeah, the free feet channel. But I'm going to give my community members ways to get into here. Because as an oiler, and talking to other oilers in the space, one of the reasons we oil is because we don't have the time to do these things. The oil is to pay for the art. The oil is to do those things. The oil is to give people who can't afford subs. Now, orcas oil for a different reason. But every oiler I talk to, that's why they oil. Is for the people who can't do these things. So, like, as a content creator, if my community's growing to a point, I'm going to give those people a way to get in without oiling. That's it. As long as you show me effort and loyalty, you're in. And the oilers are still going to oil, because that's what they do. The whales are still going to whale. They're still going to be generous. They're still going to be gregarious. The orcas might not oil under those circumstances. Think about that. If you forgot or don't know what an orca is yet, it's a killer whale. It's a whale that oils, donates to you with ulterior motives in mind. So if I make it clear that you don't have to oil to get into my paid areas, the gregarious oilers are still going to oiler, but the orcas might not. And that makes us more secure, not just as a streamer, but as a community. Sometimes, many times, social and secure is the same thing. Understanding social dynamics becomes security. We've gotten to a place where, like, malware and stuff is not how people get in. We've gotten too good at detecting it in most cases. From 2024 to the first quarter of 2025, hands-on keyboard attacks have increased by, like, 440%. The bad guys know, and in content creation, they've always known that social is where it is at. But streamers still be clicking PDFs, so, you know, it is what it is. Streamers still be clicking those PDFs. Even though all the bad guys have started going to hands-on keyboard attacks. Hopefully, I get my real camera up soon. I'm tired of the head shine over here. I'm tired of the head shine from the low dynamic range and having been on stream for a while now. I hope you all have enjoyed my revealing stream and have enjoyed me telling all. This is now the questions section, because I think I've gotten through the content I wanted to get through. What do you mean by hands-on keyboard? What I mean is that the attacker is interactive. So for a long time, that hasn't been normal. A lot of attacks, colloquially, have been scripts running unattended and unsupervised against targets. Hands-on keyboard is like the Hacker Man meme. The insider threat infiltration game has gotten crazy. It's always existed, but it's getting more and more common to get people hired in places for the specific purpose of being hired in that place. They're using AI to, like, attack, to generate resumes that attack, specific companies. And when I say attack, it floods them with resumes that the AI think have the highest chance of getting accepted. And then when one of those makes it to the interview, they send their guy. And eventually they get people in. And then bad stuff happens to you. That's becoming more and more common in attack. I think DPRK is escalating on that tactic. Any more questions before we call it a night? What is DPRK? I knew that was coming. Democratic People's Republic of Korea. North Korea. Actually, Russia's attacks are mostly, for now, they're mostly disruptive. They're not exfiltrative. They're destructive. Denial of service attacks, those are really popular. You know, DDoSing, just bringing services down, deleting files, that sort of thing. That's been Russia's MO lately. That has been Russia's MO lately. They're actually not doing the big infiltration stuff. That's more Korea and China right now. Fun fact. I'm not saying that they don't all do all of it, but like as their primary thing that they're doing, Russia's taken like a disruptive. I don't know. It's just their strategy. I can't tell you why. But their prevalent strategy in Russia right now is disruption. Okay, Glowy. Olga's been busy and can't honeypot anymore. Right. I forget what Iran's doing. That was a thing for a while. I forget what I was told. These slides won't be available like I normally make them because I've just been doing too much erasing. You're just going to have to watch the VOD. I'm sorry. How long do you spend grooming your beard? Less than 2 minutes a day. In fact, I need to, like, clean up the edges right here. Right now, my beard is in a growth phase, and if you groom it, it doesn't grow. There's more to it than that, but that's the short explanation. If you are growing, you are not grooming. you got to let it get scraggly and grow out to actually get the length. Because if you try to shape it and stuff, while that doesn't work. You're cutting the hair up. You got to let it grow. So right now it's kind of scraggly because I want kind of a little more length on it. Are you trying to get that Gandalf beard? Nah, maybe another inch tops. Maybe another inch tops. I could make a joke about growing from grooming. Oh, no. Well, you just did, but, like, I'm glad you made it vague. Let's see. Because we're not going to another ad break. I refuse. So we've got a hard cutoff of this stream in just about 20 minutes. I didn't say I was going to shave soon, unless you think November is soon. Late November. But I said I was getting there. Soon enough. You're not wrong. I guess I could shape it now, since she is right. She is right. It's not going to grow that much between now and the time that I promised her a night with a stranger. Just in time for the freezing weather. Yeah, and this has been going on since about May, June. So I got all furry for the summer, and now it's going to go away just in time for it to get cold, insofar as Florida even gets cold. Classic. I mean, to be fair, this protects my neck from sunburn. It is useful there. This also protects my face from sunburn in a lot of places. Insulation is insulation both ways. Maximizing suffering. Yeah. God, what was the length? Like, I've been thinking about cutting this soon because this is about the length I let it get before I cut it. But I'm wondering is like, am I already to the point where I could donate it? Do I need just like 1 more inch before I donate it? Because like, that's a consideration at this length. I might want to just donate this hair. I want to think about it. Because I let it get this long last time, and then after I cut it, I was like, I wonder if I could have donated that. Usually 10 to 12 inches? Well, we're just going to have to measure, aren't we? Because this looks kind of close to that. Perfect length for waifu. Also, my hair's curly, so I don't know how that affects the calculation. Lock in. Excellent. Excellent. Oh, man. You might even actually be able to read my lapel pin when I get the real camera going. Because right now it's just like a bright reflective... I don't know why I'm trying to use the camera to figure out where my finger is. That's a hair joke. Locks? Yeah, shoot up testosterone. I don't know if I'm going to do that. I don't know if I'm going to do that. But yeah, one of the things I see missing from places, just to wrap up, I think the biggest gains for the least amount of work here is setting up a community manager that does not answer to your mods and vice versa. That way the community has a feedback mechanism that isn't biased by all the tickets that they have to do, because that gets real biased real fast. And it has to be somebody that the community trusts enough to relay that information accurately, and it also can't be somebody who's responsible for doing any kind of enforcement. Literally just becomes Super Saiyan. Yeah, I think that's the biggest gain in, like, making your community a better place. Because most people think talking to moderators is useless, and in most cases, I believe they're correct. It's like those anonymous surveys at work. Wink. Anonymous work surveys. I saw a meme about that earlier today, actually. Me getting escorted out of the building after my anonymous work survey. It was something like that. Here's a question. Are commercial grade biometrics a good security measure? Define commercial grade, because that covers a lot of shit. All right, it's time for a new panel. I've got maybe 5 minutes to explain this before the next ad break, and we're not taking another ad break. All right. So, biometrics have an accuracy rating. They have an accuracy rating called combined error rate, or CER. And basically what it is you've got a curve. And on one on one axis is sensitivity. And one is error rate. And there are two types of errors. That's why it's a combined error rate. You've got the type 1 error and the type 2. And I might transpose which one is which is something that you will need to know without getting it mixed up if you want to improve your chances at becoming a CISSP. But I believe a type 1 error is a false negative. And a type 2 is a false positive. And not to get too deep into it, but the curves generally look like something like this, and you want to be about here. But you have other considerations to make, like maybe you want to tolerate false negatives more than you want to tolerate false positives, or vice versa. It depends on the application. Generally, I would say biometrics are better than passwords. They might be better than pass keys. And there's a reason almost every phone uses that as the primary identification now. We'll say that. That and reading your face. Like, every phone is already primarily biometrics. You've got your fingerprint sensor, you got your face detector, you've got Windows Hello for, like, Microsoft systems if you've got a webcam. We're already moving to biometrics. We've practically already moved there. So yeah, it's a good security measure, is the short of that. Yume says, can you use like a feedback form to monitor how community feels about rules and mods and whatever you want feedback? I mean, yeah, you can deliver that as a form, but remember, you've got to overcome the this is actually anonymous thing. So that's tricky. What you should be encouraging your members to do, I think, is just going immediately to the community manager when something doesn't feel right. And then having your community manager actually putting in the work of interpreting that data. That's all. I think forms really run the risk of, like, being what we were talking about earlier, which is the, trust me, bro, this is anonymous. One thing I said at work when somebody was like, yeah, we should have, like, anonymous reports on your managers. Right now, we're working on getting more, but right now, I only have one direct report. If I'm getting a review of my management style from my subordinates, it can literally only be one person. And I think moderation teams are also small enough and communities are also small enough where you're like, I know exactly who that is based on the feedback. So even when the form is technically anonymous, it might not be actually anonymous in practice. And that's why people are reluctant to do that. Yeah, but in a setting where you can't have a community manager. I'm wondering what that setting would be. I will actually give that a think and get back to you next stream on that. And remind me. Remind me. But I would have to think about settings where you can't have a community manager. You could set them up a Proton mail. You could do all sorts of stuff. You could, like, literally give the community manager the equivalent of a business email through, like, Proton Mail or something. Again, you're asking your community to trust that process, Yume. Yume says, what if the forums just compile the answers into pie charts so that it's just numbers? Yes, all of this is technically possible, but you have to convince the community that that's what's actually going on. Because that's, for them, that's black box code. They can't evaluate it. And even if you made it open source code, they can't evaluate that that's the code that you're using. There's no way for them to verify that that's what you're doing. Now, if I make it an email inbox like with Proton Mail, it's very easy for me as a community member to spin up my own Proton Mail, and now that's anonymous. Now that interaction is actually anonymous. The problem with total anonymity and anonymity, though, is that you can't be sure that it's coming from the community, which is why I encourage direct reporting to the community manager, and it has to be somebody the community trusts, somebody with a lot of integrity. Maybe not the most personable person, but somebody with a lot of integrity. And that's different than being popular. That's very different than being popular. You got to have somebody in that community manager role that is willing to look at you and tell you to fuck off. And that's very rare in micro celebrity spaces. Because, you know, forget the moderators for a second. Even most of the chatters are out for access. Even the chatters are out for access. So when I throw that suggestion out, I know exactly how flippant that can sound for me to suggest, but it is important. I do understand the challenges of getting somebody suited for that role. And I think that's why it's not more common. There are challenges involved in getting somebody suited for that role. But hey, we're down to 9 minutes. So I think I'm going to call it a night. No, I mean, it's late for a lot of people. It's late for a lot of people, especially my Euro buddies. It's like way past midnight for you. What are you even doing? Like, I appreciate that you're all here. This is crazy. Waifu still has work in the morning? Holy shit. What do you mean, no, it's not? At this point, it's early. It's almost 7 a.m. here, says Yume. Dimu says, is not 4 a.m. Oh, boy. Well, y'all have a good night. I'm going to throw up the make and piss screen for a little bit so that I know that you've actually heard me say good night and you've had a chance to do whatever. I can be a professional streamer sometimes. I need an outro screen now. Good night. One day I will raid somebody. Bye-bye.